being on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what the Borg did to the majority of the Federation fleet at Wolf 359. It's Monday night and that means we have another discussion about the shape of the Earth. Joining me tonight is someone that I found on Facebook at very short notice, so I do really appreciate him actually joining me tonight. Before we get going, everyone in the chat, thank you very much for joining. If you are new here, then please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and share on all the lovely social medias so everyone else can see the lovely displays that we put on. Let's just get on with it. Team Skeptic might be here tonight. He's got internet issues. He is in the call, so he might butt in at some point. But if not, then no worries. But we have with us tonight Kenyatta Slade. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Kenyatta. How are you?
I'm very well, Craig. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Thank you. It is short notice that you joined me tonight, so I do appreciate that. The person that I was going to be speaking to tonight, that I had scheduled, messaged me yesterday to say they are no longer a flat earther. So I looked for someone else that had differing views about the shape of the Earth, and Kenyatta kindly agreed to come on. So I'm just going to pass it over to you for a few minutes. You can introduce yourself to the audience and explain your position. So over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Craig. Kenyatta Slade. I live in the United States, in Los Angeles. I'm in business, and I developed an interest in, I guess, the shape of the Earth some years back. I wouldn't necessarily describe myself as a flat earther. I'm actually interested in the cosmos. I'm interested in truth. I'm interested in psychology. I'm interested in the human mind. I'm interested in faith. And I think that these issues in this discussion, I took a course in college. The professor taught me, he said, never believe in anything. Belief is faith-based. Seek the best explanation. But when it comes to the cosmos, there seems to be competing explanations. The heliocentric model versus the geocentric model. Between these two explanations, I find the geocentric model makes more sense. The heliocentric model has more holes in it. I'm not 100% convinced of either model, but between the two, if we compare them, I put my money on the geocentric model.
Okay. And when you say geocentric, do you mean that the Earth could be a sphere but the center of the universe, or do you mean that it's more likely a flat plane?
I think it's an infinite plane. I see no mathematical evidence of curvature necessary for a sphere, 26,900 circumference.
Okay, and when you say you see no mathematical evidence, what kind of evidence have you looked for?
Well, in order to have a sphere 26,900 miles in circumference, you would have to have curvature. I haven't memorized the point. I believe it's about close to 8 inches squared per mile.
That's actually very incorrect.
Okay.
The 8 inches per mile squared doesn't map out a circle. It maps out a parabola because it's a single function. And it's a common mistake that people in the discussion use. You see on the screen there, if I've actually mapped it out, the red circle is using the formula h equals 1 times r minus cos a. And the blue one is the parabola using 8 inches per mile squared. Only one of them makes a circle. You need two functions in maths to make a circle. But the question of there is no evidence of the curvature, that there is actually a lot of evidence of curvature, including many measurements of it.
Well, that's what I would like to see better evidence of. Whether the formula is squared or not, there would be a rate of curvature necessary for a sphere equal 26,900 circumference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we have, 70% of the Earth is water. Water always seeks level. I have never seen evidence of water curving into a hole.
Okay. Again, a couple of issues with what you said. When you say 70% water, you mean obviously the surface is covered with 70% water, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other thing you said about water always seeks level, well, you're kind of right. I mean, water doesn't really do anything. Water conforms to forces. But about water being level, you're absolutely correct. But what we need to do is understand what the word level means when we're talking about the Earth. And the definition of level is conforming to the curvature of the liquid parts of Earth's surface, not flat. They're very different things. To be level and to be flat are different things. Yes, water is level because at every point on Earth, the water is perpendicular to the pull of gravity.
Perpendicular to what?
The pull of gravity.
I'll accept that. Okay.
But
However you do.
hey, one second, Kenyatta. Team, hello.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been here for a second. I just didn't want to interrupt anybody. For whatever reason, there are two versions of vMix opened at the same time. So I could hear y'all and y'all couldn't hear me because it was the other version that I was going through with the microphone muted, and I was freaking out trying to figure it out. And then that's when I was like, why do I have two versions of vMix open? I'm good. So I've been here for a minute. I just didn't want to interrupt you guys.
Well, this is Kenyatta Slade. Kenyatta Slade, this is Team Skeptic, a fellow YouTuber and friend of mine. He usually acts as... Yeah, it's an awesome name, right?
Yeah. Sounds like a porn star name. To be honest with you. I'm gonna start rocking it in my videos moving forward. No, it is an amazing video. Yes.
Yeah, Team normally acts as a moderator, takes a backseat. He adds to the conversation if he feels like he has something pertinent. But
yeah, I do want to add to the conversation to some, if you don't mind. Just something real simple and easy. You said you see no mathematical proof for curvature. Would you accept, if you did find mathematical proof for curvature, would you accept it as evidence to support that the Earth is curved?
Well, absolutely. It would be necessary for a sphere 26,900 miles in circumference.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm gonna give you a different way of coming to your own conclusion. For instance, okay. So in math, we have what's called singularities, mathematical singularities. Okay. In mathematical geometry, we have mathematical singularities as well. So I want you to consider a mathematical singularity for the flat Earth, and in this case, I want you to take two lines of longitude. Okay. So you can take two lines of longitude any number of degrees apart. Okay, now as you take your finger and you move down those two, or up the two lines of longitude towards the North Pole, flat Earth, they come together at some point, right?
Let me make sure I understand.
That would be at the North Pole.
Let me make sure I understand. I follow you. Are you referencing longitude on a flat Earth map or a spherical Earth map?
No, okay. We're going to start with the flat Earth. We're going to start with the flat Earth, and we'll talk about reality and how to come to your own conclusion.
Yeah. So,
but I want you to understand. I want you to understand the concept, because it's kind of a new concept for me to explain, but it's something I've recently come to understand. So
yeah, I do.
Let's consider the flat Earth.
I have a question.
Yeah, what is it, Zenyatta?
Okay.
Kenyatta, sorry. Called you Zenyatta then. That's a healer on Overwatch.
Yeah, I just had a question before you continued. I just wanted to make sure. Did you said something about the longitude? You said if I follow the longitude along a flat Earth map. Is that correct?
Yes.
Am I following you correctly? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So let's say you were to start at the equator and you pick any two lines of longitude, okay, from the equator. And you put your fingers on those two lines of longitude, and you take them towards the North Pole. They get closer and closer together. Do you understand that? So the distance between in this picture, in in the picture that fight is showing here, the black line that's kind of light, but you can still kind of see it, that's the equator. If you look in Africa,
Yes, yes.
right in the middle of Africa, there's those two lines of longitude. Now, as the lines get I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm following you. The graphic helps. Continue, please.
Okay. Yeah. So as you get closer to the North Pole, you get closer to your mathematical singularity that describes the distance between the two lines of longitude. Do you understand
Accepted.
that? Like at some point, there is no distance between the two, and at that point, it is the North Pole. So now, on the flat, if you look on the flat Earth, you'll notice that as you go towards the South Pole, the lines of longitude continue to diverge from each other. So there is no mathematical singularity for the South Pole. There's only, it continues to, you can continue to measure distance between the line of latitude, or longitude, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that requires me to buy into the idea that a South Pole exists. And I don't see any reason to believe there is.
No. Okay, so hold on. I'm not asking you to believe that a South Pole exists. I'm saying if you go south from the equator on a flat Earth, okay, you would expect that the lines of longitude would continue to get further apart from each other, right?
Oh, agreed, yes.
I mean, look at yeah, okay. So what you can do is you can test this. You can actually, whether I believe, I heard you say something about, no, maybe that was about your name being from somebody in Kenya. I don't know if you have any friends or anybody that's in the southern part of Africa or South America that you could reference, but you can actually have them do 4 data points along the same lines of longitude, or along 2 different lines of longitude, for instance, at 2 different latitudes. So you get 4 points, and you can determine whether as you go south, do these points continue to diverge, getting further apart from each other, or are they beginning to approach a mathematical singularity as well? Where at some point these 2 lines, well, if you continue to follow them south, there will be no distance between them. And if that's the case, then you need to try to figure out for yourself what shape would result in those 2 mathematical singularities regarding the geometry of the surface of the Earth.
What was the second mathematical singularity?
Well, it would be at the South Pole.
On a sphere. If the Earth was...
If there was
yeah.
one. If the Earth is a sphere, that's the thing. If you took the data points yourself, right, or you had a trusted person that you know wouldn't lie to you that could do this measurement for you, then what you could do is you could extrapolate outward and continue moving south, saying, should this trend continue, what should I expect? Should I expect the lines to eventually reach a point where there is 0 distance between them? If it should, then you should ask yourself what shape results in me having 2 mathematical singularities.
I think I follow that. I'll have to put some thought into it, but I'll consider it, yeah.
All right. So I think if I can just clarify,
well, I'm going to back out, let y'all talk. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is that if you were to get 2 known points of longitude in the southern hemisphere and measure the amount that, if they do deviate at all, you would be able to determine if they were heading towards a mathematical singularity or not.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, that's an excellent thing.
And that's something that anybody in the southern hemisphere can do.
I think we could get,
because we can do it in the northern hemisphere. We can do it in the northern hemisphere. The only problem with doing it in the northern hemisphere is it works for both maps. The flat Earth map has a point at which the lines come together, but in the southern hemisphere they don't. So that would be where you would be able to eliminate one model and begin to move forward as an acceptance of a second model.
Yeah.
Or we can cut to the chase and you can just tell me, has this been done and what were the results?
Well, there's absolutely been measurements of the radius.
To be honest, I have a to be honest, I just thought about this. I didn't do any research about this or see somebody else's idea. I was just thinking of different ways that I could approach a debate and give a visual representation of how somebody could put together an experiment with their friends that you may live in North America. It sounds, or in the Northern Hemisphere, it sounds to me like you probably are in North America. So you would probably need a trusted source that you could find in the Southern Hemisphere. And once you have that
Well,
trusted source that you personally trust, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can think of a way to prove that phenomenon to me. And, are there any north-south circumnavigations of the Earth by flight?
One more orbit did it about 5 months ago.
So if you live on a sphere
and recorded the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just accept it as if that's okay. Why would on a sphere 99.99% of our air be east-west as opposed to now north-south?
Why would most of it be east to west rather than north to south?
Correct. If we lived on a sphere, why would there be a preference or a proclivity to fly in any particular one direction?
Okay. There's actually a lot of reasons behind that. One of the reasons is areas that people live in. The northern hemisphere is a lot more populated than the southern hemisphere, so first of all, you're going to get more flights in the northern hemisphere than the southern hemisphere, going between places in the northern hemisphere than to the southern hemisphere. The other reason is a principle in airline travel, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but which means that only airlines from a particular country are allowed to operate certain flights, like long distance flights from that country. So you're not going to have Australian Airlines operating flights from China to Europe because you'll have airlines that are based there do it instead. So the majority of the flights are going to be east to west because that's where most of the people live in the northern hemisphere, and the majority of the flights will be between different countries that are in the northern hemisphere, which tend to be east to west rather than north to south.
Okay. Doesn't sound like a very good explanation to me. I just recently flew from Lagos to New York.
Yeah.
And we flew past Greenland. It was outside the starboard window. And we came down through Nova Scotia and landed now on a flat Earth map. It's a straight line from Lagos to Greenland to New York. On the spherical Earth map, a straight line would be across the Atlantic Ocean. I don't see why airlines would waste millions of dollars in gasoline flying, an indirect route. The explanations sound a little soft to me, Craig, to be honest with you. That most people live in the northern hemisphere, but even on a sphere, to get from point A to point B, is always the best path.
Well, a straight line on a sphere is going to be curved anyway. But I'd have to look at the particular airline and the route that you travel to determine why they did it that way. But there's always reasons, and a lot of the reasons, indirect routes will include stopovers so that they can get fuel and pick up more passengers, because that's more economically sensible. But it goes back to the question of, you said, has there been any...
Hey, can I offer something?
Yep, go on, Tim.
Another that determines an airplane's route is called its ETOPS rating. The ETOPS rating is based on how many engines the plane has, the number of the number of the number of engines they have. For every additional engine, it gives them an additional amount of miles they can fly, according to the FAA and the international flight regulations and all that. It's a safety. It's the same. So only some planes can even make it across vast areas of the ocean.
Yeah. Those that do, that actual flight pattern, the actual flight patterns by all the airlines on the Earth are far more consistent with the flat Earth map than they are with a spherical map. Whatever the reasons, whatever the explanation.
An example of one?
I'll send Craig a thing here.
Yeah, so and hey, Kenyatta, one thing I want to just let you to be clear of, me and Craig have a delay when we use vMix, so if it ever seems like I'm talking over you, sometimes on my end, it's just a delay, so if I talk over you, I do apologize for that in advance.
No problem. Same here.
Okay. Did you just send me a picture there, Kenyatta?
Flights from Australia. On the left side is an illustration of flights on a spherical Earth from from Australia to, I believe that's Santiago, Chile.
Okay, just bringing that up now. 1 second.
Next to it on the right is the same flight depicted on a level and stationary plane. On the flat map, you see pretty much a straight line with stopovers exactly where you would expect them to be. And these flight patterns, this is just one flight, but you can look at pretty much all international flights, and you'll find that the stopovers seem to really fit and make sense on the flat Earth map, where you need all these convoluted explanations to make it fit on the spherical Earth map.
Well, I wouldn't say it's any
May-
convoluted
may-
explanations. Sorry, yeah, team, go on.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you first. You first. Team?
I'm sorry, Fight. Yeah, it cut out on the last second. What did you say? I just wanted to show a picture and ask him to explain this flight, because I just pulled up a flight real quick that I'm aware of, and
Let me get
it up real quick.
Okay. I mean,
Hold on 1 second.
with the flights that you're showing there, Kenyatta, I mean, most of them are going places to pick up other passengers, what I can see there. So they're taking off from South America and they're heading into North America and stopping at big cities, picking up passengers as they go to then continue the journey to Australia. Now, that's going to be more economically sensible than just flying straight from South America to Australia with less passengers.
Okay, so Kenyatta, can you see my screen right now?
Sorry, I think you said yeah. It cut out
This is a
bit.
real. Okay, this is real-time tracking of Qantas flight. I'm going to read you the flight number. Oh, QFA
I see it,
28.
yeah.
Yeah, there it is right there. From Santiago to Sydney, nonstop. This is let's see. This one is for the 29th of March. I think it's a daily flight because this is something I've looked up before, so it was in my history. But this is a nonstop flight. The green represents where it's being tracked because of radar visibility, which it's being tracked over New Zealand as it leaves Australia, over southern New Zealand, and then as it comes back into range near South America. Now, if you were to take if the Earth were a globe, and I'm not asking you to accept this, I'm just saying if the premise that the Earth is a globe is right, then the straight line, the shortest distance between 2 points would be along the Great Circle that those 2 points occupy. Okay, now that means that that's a circle. I'm not sure how familiar you are with what a great circle stands for, so I'll just tell you it's the circle that would basically be an equator of the Earth that contained both points on the equator. So any 2 points that you put on the Earth, there's one line that goes through that wraps all the way around, not the Earth, a sphere. You know, I'm just using the Earth as a sphere thing, but that's what a great circle is. A great circle is just an equator that hits any 2 points, and any 2 points on here will have only one great circle that goes through them. So the great circle, if the Earth is a sphere, the great circle that goes through Sydney, Australia, and Santiago, Chile, actually goes over southern New Zealand and heads down towards Antarctica. Now, if this flight is if this is being done on a flat Earth, that's a extremely non-efficient, non-economic flight and would probably break several flight records in terms of speed.
Did I lose you?
No, we're here.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The last I heard him say was that's an extremely inefficient.
Yeah, if the Earth was flat,
Yeah.
the route that he just showed would be not only inefficient but probably impossible to do.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
may
would
I
probably
respond?
break most flight records for airlines, for passenger planes, as far as speed goes.
Yeah. The image you just showed, it was supposedly a satellite shot of the flight path from Australia to South America. Is that correct?
No, it's not a satellite. No, it's not a satellite. It's just the path that it took. It's the places where it was tracked by radar, I believe, is the green parts. So as it leaves
I see.
Australia, well, this one I believe it left Santiago. So as it left Santiago, it was tracked by radar for so long, and then there's a point at which it can't be tracked because there's nothing there to track it, and then it gets closer
Yeah.
to southern New Zealand, it's tracked again, then it leaves radar distance and it's tracked again as it comes into Australia.
If I can respond to this,
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is a flight that I've heard quite a bit about. Whenever we discuss, the geocentric model, the heliocentric model, and the issue of flight paths come up, this flight is often presented as an exception to the rule, and one that would effectively debunk the flight pattern issue. When I've researched it, I've often found some mystery about this flight. No one knows anyone who actually flew on it. A couple people have attempted to buy tickets on this flight. I accept the evidence you're putting here at face value, and if it proves to be the case, I think it would be a tremendous problem for the geocentric model, particularly with the argument of flight paths. But once again, if in fact the Earth is a sphere, there would be hundreds of anomalies, if not thousands of flights, that would be more consistent with a spherical Earth than that of a geocentric Earth or a flat Earth. I think that overall, most of the flights, most flight patterns are consistent with the flat Earth as opposed to a spherical Earth. This is an exception.
I mean, I would kind of have to ask for statistics and stuff to back that up. And if I can just quickly go to some of the super chats I've got that are talking about this, Tommy Gonveld for 50 Nokia dollars says that as well as the flight that Team just pointed out, you could look at flights SA223, SA281, TAM Airways 9517, ETH 506, QF064, QF27, and New Zealand Flight 31. There is many flights that would actually not only make more sense on the globe, but would be pretty much impossible if the Earth was flat. And Anthony Purcell for 5 Australian dollars says that American Airlines are not able to fly directly between Southern Hemisphere airports under international law. The technical term is cabotage? That's the word that I was trying to get up there. And then Rampant for 2,500 claps says, I'm Chilean from Santiago actually, as you can see from my clap cache. And I had 2 years ago a trip from Santiago to Australia with no stops or weird stuff. So there is flights that disagree with your assertions.
Okay, I'll accept that as evidence.
Oh,
then.
What was that, Team?
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm inside my head. I'm trying to go. I'm gonna try to have the data points. People put together those data points I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I definitely think between our communities we could get that done.
Yeah, rampant's
Yeah.
in South America, so we don't have to get all Australians because I know all the Australians are gonna be like, yeah, let's do it. So. Rampant's in South America. We can at least get a second set of data points, and we have people in South Africa too.
I appreciate the fact that Kenyatta is actually willing to accept the evidence that we presented, and any of the evidence that we present to you, if you would like to verify it yourself, we are more than happy to supply any of our sources. If you want to see them, we will obviously let you know where it comes from.
And I assume that it'll be reciprocated. I'll have to definitely, take a look at some of this evidence when we get offline.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to any evidence. I'm not an advocate. I'm genuinely seeking understanding and truth.
Yeah. Okay. So the biggest question.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. Right. Let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with questioning the narrative and testing to make sure that what they're telling you is right. In fact, I'm going to tell you, I'm working on a, now, I'm not going to break into any details, but it's a lady who claimed that that a retroviral mouse, a retroviral virus inside of mice DNA was responsible for chronic fatigue syndrome, and she didn't realize she had a faulty, a contaminated cell line, and so her results were, no one else could reproduce her results. It wasn't a problem to say, ooh, that's a great idea, let's look into that idea. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and there's nothing wrong with testing it out yourself and coming to your own conclusion, whether the conclusion they came to matches the conclusion you came to. Because I'll tell you what, if the Earth, let's say we do that thing I was talking about in the southern hemisphere, there's only if Earth is either flat or round, we're both going to come to the same conclusion if we take the data points and we compare notes. You're not going to come to me and go, hey, look, my notes say it diverges, and I'm going to say, well, hey, look, my notes show that they converge. No, we're both going to have similar data points to be able to compare and come to a conclusion that we can both agree on. That is acceptable. In fact, that's encouraged, and I'll encourage anybody to do that.
Well,
so good on you.
There are other ways as well. I mean, for example, I would assume that on a sphere or a spherical Earth that orbited a sun on a consistent pattern, that you would have equal conditions at both poles, or very similar conditions at both poles.
Why?
Whereas we find the North Pole, well, because it's a sphere that are both equal distance from the sun.
Well,
and the Earth is supposedly rotating at a...
You know the Earth has an axial tilt, though, right? Which stays in relative position as it rotates.
Does it? I don't know that.
Yeah, 23.2 to 23.7 degrees axial tilt, depending on it slightly wobbles. And obviously, as it rotates around the sun, for one point in its orbit, the northern hemisphere will be pointing towards it, and during the other part of its orbit, the southern hemisphere will be pointing towards it, which is the reason we get seasons, because that means that the energy from the sun covers a different area, meaning you get warmer or colder. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like pretty similar
as well. Kenyatta, are you talking about maybe the differences between the North Pole and the South Pole, geologically speaking? Like
correct.
The South Pole being much more barren, no plants, the North Pole having nice wildlife and plants and the average temperature. Now let me address that one point right there. We'll start with that point. I'll let you work through any other point, but let's start with the differences in the North and South Pole, and let's talk about their flora, fauna, temperature, and landscape. The first major difference first off, let me ask you a question. What happens to the oxygen concentration, let's say, as you go up in altitude? Becomes harder to breathe, correct? You'd agree with that? Yeah, thinner. Great. So that affects plant life, that affects animal life, everything. What also would you say as you go higher also happens to like the temperature? What would you say the difference is between, let's say, sea level and Denver, Colorado? Lower, great, good deal. So now we've already discussed that higher temperature or higher elevations have a different atmospheric content, as well as there's going to be different temperature conditions. Are you aware that the average above sea level for Antarctica is above 2 kilometers?
Please repeat that last sentence.
The elevation in Antarctica is above 2 kilometers.
At sea level?
So
you mean at the coast of Antarctica or inland? I mean, are you saying that?
No. At the coast, it's going to be relatively sea level, but the average elevation of the land in Antarctica is 2 kilometers above sea level.
I do not know
so
that.
That would result in itself. That would result in different flora, fauna, temperature conditions, landscape, everything about the North Pole. And the North Pole, I believe, is an average elevation of about 200 meters. I believe is the North Pole.
The average elevation is 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers of what? Of ice? Of ice,
No,
right?
there's land on there too. No. The land itself, there's more mass. There's more land that goes above the sea level than there is in the North Pole. It's just a geological feature of the Earth. It's nothing special
Yeah,
about that.
I'll have
It's
to
just
look
to say
further into that. And
the
so your
continent.
argument is that your argument is that the average temperature of 4 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit a year in the North Pole versus, what is it, minus 150 degrees or minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the South Pole? I can't recall. You're saying that that difference is explained by the altitude of Antarctica? Is that right?
Pretty much.
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for that. One of the reasons is the altitude, but the other reason is that because Antarctica is primarily covered in ice and there's not a lot of visible land to absorb the visible light coming in from the sun when it does receive the sun. It reflects most of the light away, so it will naturally have a lower temperature for that one piece of information there.
That appears to be the heliocentric explanation of that particular phenomenon. There is a geocentric explanation as well, which I think also has merit. That the fact is that the South Pole is simply, or what would be the South Pole, is simply further away from the sun. That the sun travels in a circle primarily around the North Pole. And the further away you get from it, the colder it gets. That seems pretty simple and easy to understand to me. I think it's colder the further south you get because you're getting further from the sun.
I mean, it raises a lot of other questions.
Okay.
Mainly, what's keeping the sun up there in the geocentric plane model? How is the sun orbiting up there? You know, there is no reason for that to be going on.
Well, just because we don't necessarily know the reason doesn't mean there's not a reason. There could be multiple reasons. It could be, electromagnetism. I think, how is the sun held 93 million, or why is the sun where it is? And the heliocentric model requires quite a few leaps of faith as well. This magical power of gravity that explains everything, every hole
There's
in the
nothing
heliocentric
magical
model.
about gravity. Gravity is simply an observation. Things accelerate as you let them go. Therefore, there has to be a force applied. F equals ma. If there's an acceleration, there's a force. You can call it what you like. It doesn't really matter. Gravity is just a word that we use to describe a phenomenon. You can't deny the fact that when I let go of this lighter, it goes from not moving to moving, meaning it's accelerated. That means there have to have been a force applied.
Well, it doesn't mean that force was gravity. A force could it be density?
Density is not a force. It doesn't have a vector.
Or could it be density? It doesn't have to be a force. Could it be density?
It has to be a force because it's accelerated.
Kenyatta,
less things pass through density.
Kenyatta, may I ask you a question real quick? And that comment right there, I need flat earthers to stay away from saying comments like that, because if you put a lead ball on a wood desk, lead is more dense than wood, but the lead ball won't fall through the wooden desk. So that comment in itself is just kind of a bad science comment.
And also there's
there's
a gradient in our atmosphere, which means that as you said earlier, as you go up further in altitude, the atmosphere gets thinner. It's less dense. So if things were to go through the less dense medium, when I let go of something, it should go up and not down. So density doesn't explain it at all, because density cannot give a vector. Yes, it's more dense than the air, but why does it go down? There's no reason for that to happen. What we can say is that it does go down. There is always an acceleration. And nobody can deny the fact that F equals ma. If there is an acceleration, there has to be a force.
Yeah, and Kenyatta, do you have a pen and paper on you to write something down real quick? Like a mathematical equation? I don't want to do it in your head. Unless you're okay with it. I mean, it's a real simple one. I just want to show you why density cannot be used as a force. Okay, so can you define density real quick?
I'll accept that density is not a force.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
so you don't have.
Okay, good to know. Good.
Right. So, I think the best thing to do is to actually talk about evidence, right? Because we've talked about a lot of what ifs, right? So the big question is, if the Earth is a flat, infinite plane, where's the measurements of that?
I would say that the best evidence, I don't know about measurement, but the best evidence that I've seen of it is what I would consider lack of curvature. I haven't seen any evidence
Okay.
that
So
the Earth is curving.
what have I told you that there were many, many measurements of the radius of the Earth? Like it's been measured a lot of times. And
I
if I
would,
can direct your attention to the screen, a good friend of ours called MC Toon has collated a lot of this information himself. And if you go to mctoon.net/r, he's actually got together some of the information of the times they actually measured the radius of the Earth. Now, these are all different accounts by surveying teams from around the world. From the account of the observations of the principal triangulation of Great Britain, the measurement of the two sections of the meridional arc of India, the transcontinental triangulation of the American arc of the parallel. So many different teams from all around the world have used known surveying methods to see if there is a curvature and measure the radius of the Earth. And every single one of them, independently from different points throughout time, you see 1909, 1900, 1847, all throughout time, different observations, and they all get the same thing, that the Earth has a radius of approximately 3,950 miles, and that there is a 46-mile difference in diameters between the polar diameter and the equatorial diameter. How is it possible that all of these surveying teams from all around the world, different times throughout history, could all come to independently the same conclusion?
probably in a manner very similar to a list of surveyors I could put together who report the geocentric model given enough time. Give me 30 minutes, I can give you a list of survey authors, engineers who've stated the exact opposite, that they have found no evidence of curvature of the Earth.
I would honestly like to hear of any actual surveyor who has ever said that, because I've never found any. There is some flat earthers who have claimed to be surveyors, but turns out that they didn't have the first clue what they were talking about. The fact is that every surveyor that actually knows what they're doing, a geodesic surveyor, has to take into account the curvature of the Earth to do their job properly. There's a principle they use called spherical excess, which is all about taking into account the curvature of the Earth. And they wouldn't be able to do their job if they didn't do these things. Now, independent measurements from all around the world, all coming to exactly the same conclusion, is a bit of an illogical jump to say that, well, they were all just wrong.
Okay, so Craig, you're saying that there's a list of surveyors who say that the Earth is round, that you haven't seen evidence of any surveyor who said it's flat.
No.
And
if you're talking about like engineers and stuff, I mean, makers of suspension bridges need to take the curvature of the Earth into account, and the Venice and Narrows Bridge in New York has two plumb towers that are exactly plumb, so they're level at their own point, yet the tops of them are 1 5/8 inches further apart than the bottom, matching the predicted curvature of the Earth. So
well,
engineers and surveyors do take it into account.
Okay, so I'll do my research and send you a document later on the surveyors and engineers who I believe I've encountered over time, who stated that the Earth is not a sphere. I can find those and we can compare.
Okay. I can tell you that any actual geodesic surveyor has to know that the Earth is a sphere as part of their job. But that's just the evidence. I've never seen any measurements of flatness, right? And evidence is king, empirical evidence. And the important thing about these measurements is that anyone with a basic knowledge of surveying could repeat them. It's not something that's secret. The methods isn't known.
I want you to know I accept that. I really believe in things being repeated. The ability. That's why I have such. That's why I have such cynicism, on for NASA. I've never seen anyone repeat what they do except them.
Well, apart from, say, SpaceX, Blue Origin, ESA, JAXA, Rosmoscos, the Indian Space Agency, South Korean Space Agency, the British Space Agency, they've all done what NASA do.
What they're doing in common is showing us a bunch of CGI images.
No, they're not.
From SpaceX. I find what SpaceX is doing comical.
I mean, I saw the satellites go over my house on myself. Like, I mean, my wife sat outside and watched them go over. It's not comical. They're there.
So what go over? You saw lights go over? I mean, what did you see?
I saw the Starlink satellites that went over me at the predicted time and place that they said they would, and the speed that they were going. It means it's absolutely impossible for them to be an aircraft or a balloon inside the atmosphere. If you want, I don't really like to talk about NASA because I don't need to use NASA to demonstrate my points. But if we want to talk about NASA, we know someone personally that independently verified the size, altitude, and speed of the ISS without using anything from NASA.
I was going to suggest
Well,
that.
hey guys, perhaps we could speed it up a little bit. I'll just tell you, what the problems I have, and perhaps you can help me better understand.
Absolutely.
When you talk about NASA or space agencies, I have yet to see a genuine photograph of Earth taken from space.
No problem. 2 secs. There you go.
Shot.
That was taken in 1972 with a physical Hasselblad camera with I believe, 80mm film, developed in a darkroom. The only thing they did to change the photo was change its orientation so that north is at the top and south is at the bottom. But that was taken with a physical camera way before Photoshop was even invented.
In 1970 when?
1972.
From what aircraft?
Apollo 17.
From Apollo 17.
I believe it was Eugene Kerman that took that photo.
Stars.
Do you understand how exposure works?
A little bit.
Well, go outside with your cell phone and take a picture of the stars for me. Can't do it. Not unless you change the exposure settings.
Not from Earth. Not from the surface of Earth, right?
No.
But I believe if I was 100,000 miles above Earth and I took a photo with my phone, why wouldn't I see stars?
Exposure. Unless you set it to have longer exposure times, you would only see the largest light source. It's the way that lenses capture images. So team's better to explain that.
So let me ask you just a question. In your opinion, if you were going to take a picture of the Earth from space, would you want to focus on the details of the Earth or the details of the stars? Because you could only choose one.
I would hate to choose. I would try to get them both.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of pictures of the stars.
That's why. Okay. Well, that's a great point, Kenyatta, because that's why we put satellites in space like Hubble.
I want to photograph
That's
whatever
why we
my
put satellites
eye.
in space like Hubble.
So you want to photograph what? Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to photograph whatever my eyes happen to see.
Well, then you need to have the correct settings. You would need to make sure the exposure settings were right that you could actually see that. There is pictures of from space that have stars in them, and there is entire satellites that are up there specifically to take pictures of the stars. But they would need different imaging techniques.
I don't want to be like a jerk. I want to be one of these guys who rejects something just because it doesn't support his position. But this image doesn't look very convincing to me.
I mean, that is actually a low-res one, but here we go is a time-lapse of Earth from the Himawari camera. Takes a new image every 10 seconds. Obviously colorized there to show the heat map. 10 minutes, not seconds, sorry. There's many images of Earth from space that aren't CGI.
just so I can follow this, because this will help me, guys. And I got to give you guys credit. I really enjoy talking with you because I have not been impressed with the people I've seen defending the heliocentric model.
We've been doing this for a
I'll
while.
take this as an opportunity to ask some questions here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the photograph you're showing me now, for example,
Yeah.
I am to believe that this is a photograph of Earth taken from space as
Yes.
Earth is rotating,
Yeah.
spinning, wobbling,
Yeah.
orbiting the sun at least 66,000 miles per hour,
Yeah.
which is also orbiting an object in our Milky Way at 500,000 plus miles per hour.
Yeah.
The moon, the sun, and all these objects are somewhere in the vicinity. And this is a photograph of Earth taken with all that motion and speed happening simultaneously.
Do you understand what relative motion is?
I do. I think I do. I believe
So-
it means that an object moving is relative to the other objects in space, not necessarily much changing.
What you want to understand about, right, so let's talk about Apollo 17 that took this image, right? It left the Earth, and when it left the Earth, it was traveling all those speeds you said, even though they're not real speeds because speed needs a reference point. But as the rocket left the Earth, it had the momentum of all those speeds that you said, of the orbit around the Earth and of the sun's orbit around the galaxy. It already had all those. So then it's going to maintain that motion as it heads, that relative motion with the Earth as it goes to the moon. To actually be in a point where the Earth would go off in the distance, the rocket would have to actually expend an incredible amount of energy to stop itself and watch the Earth speed off on its cosmic journey.
So let me make sure I understand. So it's like if I were traveling on the back of an open pickup truck at 100 miles per hour,
yeah,
and I jumped off that truck, I would still be traveling at 100 miles per hour for a short period of time.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me get I've got a video that is excellent for demonstrating that.
And here's a good way for you to think about it in your head. A different way of doing it. Think to yourself like this. Ask yourself this question: would you be able to feel the difference in like a Dynamax machine is, where a car sits on it and it spins its wheels, and it like tests torque and all that other stuff, like on race cars? You know what I'm saying? One of those machines.
Yeah.
So would you be able to tell the difference if you were sitting on one of those machines or if you were traveling at 100 miles per hour without changing speed? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say all the windows are blocked. All you have is you hear the engine going, you feel the tires moving, and would you be able to tell the difference of whether or not you were actually driving or sitting in one place?
I guess not. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And it's
okay,
the same.
That's right.
In the video that I'm showing, the guy isn't physically touching the trampoline for most of the time, but because he retains that momentum of the trampoline, even though he's not physically attached to it, he still moves relative to it. It's the same if a rocket leaves Earth; it maintains that relative motion that it had when it left the Earth.
Yeah, that trampoline and those walls right there become a frame of reference.
The trampoline being pulled by a tractor, right?
Yeah, in that example, yeah. So it's moving in a constant velocity forward.
I'd like to see that experiment at much higher speeds.
Well,
it wouldn't make a difference.
It would.
Well, it would
in the atmosphere
if you get with the drag.
Yeah, but in space,
drag,
there's nothing in space to cause a drag. There's nothing in space that would cause friction. So let me go back to that a sec, right? Imagine that they're doing this, but there is no atmosphere there. Then the speed that they're going would make no difference because there would be no air resistance to push them backwards. But if they do this in the atmosphere, if they accelerate to a couple of 100 miles an hour, there is going to be drag against the air, and that's going to cause him to go off of it.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
I guess so. Yeah. Okay, so rocket leaves Earth. Earth is traveling around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour. It's wobbling, it's rotating, it's spinning. The sun is also moving at tremendous speeds around the universe and galaxy, but all these speeds are all relative to every other object in the universe, which could also mean that nothing is moving.
No.
If
Well,
everything is moving, and it's all relative,
yeah. Well,
moving in reference to
when you talk about reference points, when you talk about speed, you have to have a reference point, because if I've got two cars that are going at 30 miles an hour, to you, standing still, both those cars are going at 30 miles an hour. But for each one of those cars, the other car isn't traveling at a different speed. It's traveling at a relative velocity of zero, you know? So when we're talking about speeds, those speeds that you're talking about, okay, they are kind of in reference to the ultimate reference point that we have, which is the cosmic microwave background radiation. But it's not speeds that are important, right? Now, when you say that the Earth is traveling at this tremendous velocity around the sun, the question I ask you is, how long does the sun take to do one orbit?
around what?
Sorry, how long does the Earth take to do one orbit around the sun?
I believe it's a year,
So
according to the
365
heliocentric
days. So that means that the Earth, sorry, is actually moving at approximately 1 degree a day. In the same way that the Earth is only rotating at 15 degrees per hour. And now, if we look at the larger picture of the sun rotating around the galaxy, then I'm pretty sure something like 250,000 years for one rotation around the center of the galaxy. 250 million years, is it? Sorry, I was off by about a factor of 10 there. So yeah, the actual, when you're talking about rotational speeds, the important thing is the angular velocity. And the angular velocity of all these things is barely moving. The Earth is rotating once per day. You stand still and then rotate 365 degrees in 24 hours and see how fast that feels.
Well, I'm not talking about how fast it feels. Okay, I'm talking about what would happen if you left Earth in a vehicle, something not much bigger than a Volkswagen bus.
You would always maintain, you conserve your momentum.
Okay. Right. So Kenyatta, in the heliocentric model, space does not have resistance. Okay. So if a rocket leaves Earth and is traveling, let's just say it's traveling 0 miles per hour relative to Earth. All right. So that means that as Earth is moving through what the universe, at whatever speed it's moving through, the rocket's also moving through the universe at that speed. So they would always maintain their distance. The rocket would conserve its momentum. If it was, we're just taking out the idea of orbiting. We're just saying, let's say it were that drove off the Earth and got into space and was following along Earth in a straight line as it went through space. Well, that car would always appear relatively still to the Earth, but it would maintain it would conserve its momentum. There would be no resistance whatsoever to slow the car down. This is what happens with rockets. Once they leave our atmosphere, there's no resistance. They just, or when things orbit the Earth, they're up there. They do have minor, slight resistances from especially things that are in low Earth orbit. That's why they have to make small corrections over time. But generally, relative to the atmosphere on the Earth, there is no resistance. So once it's moving at that speed, it's just moving.
Yeah.
If the Earth is moving, it conserves the momentum of the Earth, and it just carries that with it.
Yeah. Anything that has. Sorry, go on.
That it sounds as if that in a heliocentric model, many of the same things would happen in a geocentric model. That speed is relative, movement is relative.
Momentum is conserved. It's an important part.
You're right there. Everything seems to work out the same. It seems to be different explanations for the same phenomena.
Well, that's the thing.
Yes, and then go ahead, Mike.
I'm going to say that there is explanations for all of these phenomena on the heliocentric model, but the flat Earth model doesn't have an explanation for so many of the points. It might have something that explains one thing, but that explanation causes the problem for another part of the flat Earth model. When you started, you said that the heliocentric model has holes in it, and that's the thing. There isn't any holes in the heliocentric model.
Yeah, Kenyatta, let me give you an observation that you can do. It would be something that would be hard to do because it requires very expensive equipment. but it has been done in the flat Earth community using fiber optic gyro. So you have a fiber optic gyro and you put it on a table, and you're going to measure a 15-degree per hour drift no matter whatever table you set it on the face of the planet. We're not even going to talk about that 15-degree per hour right now. We're going to talk about something else you would measure every single day. That gyroscope would drift approximately 1 degree every day, and this is due to the orbit of the Earth around the Sun. Now, if the Earth were stationary and the gyroscope were stationary, and let's say, just to explain the 15-degree per hour drift, we're just going to say that the flat Earth rotates at 15 degrees per hour, because that would probably give you a drift, because then you would have it would only be in two axes, not three, but it would still give you a drift. So we're going to give you that. You still wouldn't be able to explain the 1 degree per day drift that we can absolutely explain on the centric model.
You know, Craig, I'm looking, as we talk and listening, I'm looking for a video I watched recently on gyroscopes in the flat Earth. It was put up by an engineer. And it's been a couple of years since I've done any research on this topic, but I gotta say, the amount of censorship is ridiculous. The videos that I've seen on the flat Earth, half of them have been removed. Not half, nearly all of them have been removed.
From where?
When you do a Google search, what comes up first is all these debunking videos and these controlled opposition videos.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the main reasons is our videos are...
I've never seen anyone have to censor truth. You know, that there's so much censor. Why are they removing videos? Why are they removing this evidence? I don't think that is necessary. If it's a lie, it'll fall apart. You don't need to do that.
Well, there's a lot of reasons. There isn't censorship. What there is YouTube and Facebook both being private companies that can really do what they want. But they have a responsibility to curb the flow of misinformation. And a lot of flat Earth videos don't just talk about the shape of the Earth. They talk about other conspiracies as well, which can be dangerous for people to actually fall into. So they don't necessarily get removed. The YouTube algorithm won't promote them. But the thing is, the main reason why you find our videos rather than flat Earth videos is because our videos are a lot better, and you know they get promoted more because more people want to see the debunking of the flat Earth, because most people know it's an absolutely ridiculous concept.
That's a patently unscientific approach you're taking. You know, you're coming to conclusions. You know, and
no, I just said facts about it's about the way that YouTube and Facebook work.
I think your points would be better served if you encouraged whomever these censors are to allow you.
Don't get us wrong. We want flat earthers to make videos because it then gives us a chance to respond to them. But I mean, one of the major issues is a lot of flat. There isn't many flat Earth videos getting made.
Let me ask a question. Yeah, let me ask you a question, Kenyatta. Do you own your own business by chance?
I do.
You do? Okay, great. Sell any products or anything like that? Like, let's say, we'll just, instead of divulging anything like that, let me just pose you a thing. Let's say that you have a person out there that's trying to sell you a product. You do a little bit of background check on the person. You decide you personally don't want to back that product and put it in your store. Do you think it's censorship if you decide not to push that product in your product line?
Well, if I promote my platform as a platform for user-generated content, and then I start censoring certain users, I would find it corrupt and fraudulent.
If you found it detrimental to your business to continue to promote a certain product, or even if we just go ahead and just talk about YouTube itself, if YouTube found it detrimental to promote flat Earth videos in regards to their advertising, their advertising desirability, do you think they have the right or should have the right to decide not to push those videos as hard as they push other topics?
I'm not commenting on their rights. They have the right to do whatever they want. I'm just talking about the unscientific nature of it. And also the
Well, I
fact
just don't
that
think it's censorship. I think it's a personal preference. I just don't think it's censorship.
what's the difference?
No, you can still put out a flat Earth video on
Yeah,
YouTube.
they're
I
not
mean,
stopping
nobody
that.
might watch it, but
I mean, there's
yeah,
plenty
you
of
can
flat Earth
still put
videos
your
there.
video out there.
I mean, you can search.
There were no heliocentric debunking videos until the flat Earth movement came around. That there was
Yeah.
no one interested in this until the flat Earth movement came around. I don't think Craig would
No,
have a show.
there was a, I would say,
There's
well, no,
always been
I
a
would say that
debunkers.
geocentrism, yeah, geocentrism and young Earth creation is much older than flat Earth.
If they were removing heliocentric videos, I would be just as appalled, and it would
But
make me think
they've no reason to do that though. People want to
Okay,
watch.
let me-
Like, the
okay,
thing is,
let
people
me
want
tell
to
you
watch
something.
the. Sorry, one sec, team. The people want to watch the debunkers, right?
Go ahead,
My videos and team's
Well,
videos, Simon,
they
Dan,
want-
our videos are
they want
quite popular. People want to watch them, so it's better for YouTube to promote that. But flat
they
Earth
want-
videos
people
are
want-
there.
People want confirmation bias. You can give them, it's a drug, okay? You can give
No.
people what they want all day.
No, because I don't give
Okay,
confirmation bias.
can I-
I give
Guys,
scientific facts.
if I may, I think there's a pink elephant that we're missing here. That there are certain faith-based aspects to both of these models. The heliocentric model as well
No.
is very much a faith-based model. Yes, it is.
No, I have to completely disagree. There's no faith required. Absolutely none.
Tremendous
Everything is backed
Tremendous.
up. No. And that's a very big misconception from your side. Every single bit of the heliocentric model is backed up with scientific evidence. Every single part of it. There is no faith required.
Okay, can I give you something, Kenyatta, to look at yourself? I want to point out this right here. Fight the Flat Earth has about 25,000 subscribers. Globebusters, which is one of the most prominent Flat Earth channels out there, has 55.3 thousand subscribers. Now, it's not the numbers I want you to notice. I want you to notice that Fight's a little less than half, okay? A little less than half of their subscribers. Their last stream, and then, you know, yeah, their last stream, Twinkle Twinkle Little Starlink, 21,000 views streamed 1 week ago. Fight the Flat Earth, if you were to consider his numbers and say they were relative based on subscribers, and said if YouTube pushed both of them equally to their current subscribers, he should have, if they've got about 21,000 and he has about 45% of their subscribership, how many views should he have on a video that was 1 week ago?
I don't know. I can't follow that. But I'll tell you this. If you type in a search right now.
It's about
for
9,500. There you go. One
If you
week
could
ago,
type-
9,500 views. Fight the Flat Earth. He's getting pushed just as hard as Flat Earth channels are.
If you do a search right now for Eric Dubé, you're not going to. His name has been scrubbed from YouTube.
Well, yeah, but
Which
he
I
has
think-
been demonstrated to be a fraud, a con man, and an anti-Semite. So he kind of gets scrubbed from the internet.
Well, it's not. Those aren't scientific reasons to ban his science. You know,
He
that
doesn't
I
have
think
any
that the guy is.
science.
I think he's a tremendous
That's not
voice.
science.
Nothing about
Yeah,
what Eric Dubé
he's
says
got
is
a
science.
very,
Not one thing.
yeah, he's
See,
an absolute
that's-
con man.
That's censorship again, guys. Of course, you're going to say that because he has
No,
a
it's
different
a
viewpoint.
fact. I've debunked every
No, that's-
single one of his
that's a-
200 points.
It's not a fact, gentlemen.
It is.
It's not a fact. It's
Okay,
not.
so
I mean, you know,
so he says
first of all, what
he
Eric,
says butterflies shouldn't be able to fly. He says butterflies shouldn't be able to fly. Why is that?
Yeah.
I think he should be able to speak for himself. The fact that he can't is evidence. I believe you're afraid
He
to talk with him.
won't.
As a matter of fact, if you get him
yeah.
on your
No,
show,
he can
man,
come on. No.
Oh, no, I've asked
Bring
him
him on.
so many times. He won't because he's a coward and he doesn't even believe the earth is flat. He is a con man. I did a video about him maybe 6 months ago. And I want his videos out there because I want to debunk them. But I covered one of his videos and literally demonstrated how he was lying to people about certain positions where photos were taken and stuff, and purposely misusing information to fit his narrative.
gentlemen, I hear the same thing said about a lot of you heliocentric guys.
No, we can back up everything we say.
I hear about CGI and fake photographs and Photoshop. Everyone can point to evidence of fraud on both sides of
No,
these
but
theories.
here's the thing: there isn't any evidence of fraud on our side, none at all, not one single bit.
You don't think the Apollo landings are evidence of fraud?
No, we absolutely landed on the moon.
No.
I've debunked all moon
Can
landing
you
claims
explain
as well.
how the retro? Can you explain how the retroreflectors work?
I've never seen that.
On the
I've
moon?
bounced lasers off them.
Can you explain why we-
you
explain
can
why-
go to it. No. Yeah,
Can you explain-
absolutely. There's a set of mirrors. There's a set of mirrors on the moon that are specifically designed so that when a laser beam goes to it and bounces off of it, it will come back in the exact same direction that it went out. So you can use the known speed of light and the amount of time it takes for you to send a signal there and for it to get back. That's the distance times 2, okay? So you can take the time, divide that in half, and then you can use the known speed of light to come up with the distance to the moon, the distance that light traveled before it came back to you. Somebody had
allow
to
me
put,
to ask.
something had to put those retroreflectors up there.
Craig, I'm sorry,
ahead.
I forgot the other gentleman's name. What is the other guy's name?
He's called
Team Skeptic.
Yeah.
You can just call me Skeptic. You can call me Team. Yeah, Team's easy. Just say Team.
If we in fact go to the moon 50 some odd years ago, and NASA has a $21 billion budget a year,
Oh God,
would you have to have such a convoluted explanation to prove we've been there
no.
as these reflectors and shooting light? I mean, would it be that hard?
No.
I mean, Columbus
No,
into the New World.
That's one piece
92.
of evidence.
That's
But
just one piece.
That's
There's
one
many more.
piece of evidence that you on the face of the planet, without knowing anything else, you can shoot a laser and get it back, and you can say, how is it that I can shoot a laser at this one portion of the moon where they say there's a retroreflector there? They'll tell you how it's made. That's how I learned about it. It's just a very specific setup of mirrors to bounce back in the exact same orientation that it came in as. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Craig, I'd appreciate a link to that evidence. It'd be awesome if I could see a video of that laser being shot to the moon that came back.
Yeah, I mean, I can send you as many links. They literally do it every year at Bristol University.
That would be something, and I got to tell you, if in fact I can point a laser or see someone else point a laser at the moon, it's a reflector and come back,
I know
I'm going
there's
to be very
conservatory.
I will have to concede at that point.
There's an observatory in Florida where you can go and do it yourself. They do it regularly for guests that go to, they got like the star shows, but one of the things they do is use the equipment to bounce a laser off the retroreflectors left.
Yeah.
But it all comes back down to evidence, okay? You can say all you like, oh, I don't think the landings were real. It doesn't make sense how that can be, but the thing is, evidence is king, right? And that's why I said, where's the evidence of flatness? Where's the actual measurements that the Earth is flat? Or indeed the measurements that the Earth isn't moving? Because if the Earth isn't moving, if the geocentric model is correct and the Earth is stationary, why can we measure movement?
Well, can we?
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I'll tell you what, just help me understand this question. I was in Egypt not long ago and saw where they had carved in stone images of constellations in the sky that correspond to what was happening on Earth when they made these pyramids, assuming. Why are the constellations in the same place 5,000 years ago created these megaliths? Why are
they're not the constellations in relation to the Giza pyramids are about 3/4 of a degree off from what they used to be, and there is measurements throughout time of charting the position of the stars as they have moved. So the stars do move, and they've been mapped. But it goes back to measurement, right? And I said to you, we've measured the movement, and you said, have they? Can I quickly show you a video? This video is actually by a very prominent flat earther.
If the Earth is spinning
Hey,
at one
after you
rotation
get done
every
with
24
that,
hours,
okay,
means
go
that
ahead.
every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bob. Now, I think you need to start having the other clip also ready to go. Where the one where he says, "You know what? If we release these results,
Yeah, I know,
if we
right?
release these results now, it would be bad for us."
You know, guys, I watched,
hey,
it must have been a year, 2 years ago, I watched a video of an engineer with a gyroscope who proved the Earth was flat.
Was he
I
using a
would love to
mechanical
share
gyroscope?
I can't tell you because the video has been removed.
Right. Mechanical gyroscopes, majority of them won't drift, right? And the reason for that is simple, because they're mechanical, they have friction. The actual forces involved in causing a gyro to drift are so minute that friction can overcome them, which is why they use optical devices like interferometric fiber optic gyroscopes or ring laser gyroscopes, that where friction isn't an issue. And they're so accurate that every single airplane you've ever flown on has 3 on them to detect yaw, pitch, and roll. And if they weren't able to detect the motion of the Earth, then the airplanes wouldn't be able to determine their position the way that they do. The fact is that every single interferometric fiber optic gyroscope and ring laser gyroscope on the planet, as soon as you turn them on, detect a 15-degree-per-hour drift in 3 axes, which is impossible if the Earth is flat and stationary.
You know, Craig, I'm not an engineer or a pilot or anything, but it's a shame that I can't find the engineers and the pilots who disagree with you. They exist, but they're being removed.
I mean,
It's making it difficult to accept what you're saying, and I'm getting a little frustrated, not with you, but with YouTube. And I haven't researched this topic in a long time, but I'm doing it as we speak, and everything that I've referenced in the past has been systematically removed, and it's
I've actually looked at a lot of the videos that you're talking about. I really have, especially the ones revolving around gyroscopes. And you are right that there is quite a lot of videos using gyroscopes that appear to disprove the motion of the Earth. But again, they're all going to be mechanical gyroscopes. It's undeniable that interferometric gyroscopes pick up this drift. It's just it's a nature. It's part of their nature, of their function. That's what they do. They detect that drift. And as Team said earlier, they don't just detect that drift around the Earth's own axis, but they detect the drift of the Earth around the Sun at 1 degree a day. And the fact that these gyroscopes detect those motions needs explaining by the geocentric side.
Now, hey, I would like to pop in for two quick points. One was earlier you said something about being able to see stars and the moon with your eye. Why can't you, and Greg says you can't do it with a camera. I've been meaning to tell you guys this. It's because of your dynamic range of your eyes is much higher than that of a camera. So that's something you should look into, since you were asking questions about cameras in space seeing the Earth but not the stars. But the other thing I wanted to show was the video that you asked for about the laser to the moon. Would you mind letting me share that, Fight?
Here we go.
All right, here we go.
sure.
I'm not going to play the audio because this is a BBC video, but they're going to show, look, they shoot a laser at this observatory. What he's explaining here is the same thing I was explaining to you, how they shoot a laser at this one object, and no matter what orientation the laser comes in at, it also returns in that same orientation. So this is the demonstration that they're doing right here. They're about to fire the laser and then measure the time it takes for the laser beam to hit that object and come back.
It's about 7 seconds, 3 there, 3 back, something like that.
I'm not 100% sure. Give me 1 second. I'll look that up. But okay, so basically that's what they're doing. I don't have to show it anymore. It's the same thing. But that's what they're doing, is they're a laser off of a very specific item that's been left on the moon by something. Now, The narrative that the Americans say is that they went up there and left the retroreflector on the moon. That's their narrative. Okay, now the Russians have verified this narrative. The Chinese have verified this narrative. The Israelis have verified this narrative. I believe
Japanese.
India has verified this narrative. Japanese have verified this narrative. All these others that could potentially have a political benefit in knocking the U.S. off of its perch, or whatever you want to say, or that we hold, you know, as far as a world power, they could have done that, but have not. Have consistently said, well, yep, you know what? Everything they said about going to the moon is absolutely true. There's no explanation.
Yeah, I've heard the Russians haven't debunked, Chinese haven't, others haven't debunked argument as well. You know, I don't find it very compelling, but I accept it.
Okay.
Just share with you, Craig, a question I have about when I hear about ISIS in the space station, and there's a space station flying around Earth, and I always look at the videos, and I'm like, I really wish they would just go to one of the windows and just look out, let me see what they see, you know? And I see all these guys spinning on wires. They're supposedly in zero gravity. This looks so fake, guys. I don't. Please explain to me fakeness. ISS.
There's nothing fake. This particular thing, I've debunked this one already. So tell me what you think it looks fake about this.
I don't find their I don't find
Right.
this depiction of weightlessness believable, and I see what looks like the manipulation of harnesses and wires.
I mean, there's definitely no wires or anything there that I can see, or any points where they would be attached to them. Also, the fact that, and this is kind of important, one's wearing a blue shirt and one's wearing a green shirt. They couldn't be working with a green screen. There's no indication at all that they're in harnesses. This particular movement, which has been cherry-picked, is simply him readjusting his weight. And if you watch the entire bit of footage, he does this movement constantly as he shifts his weight to grab himself, to orientate himself and push him back. He puts his hand on his belt quite often. He just moves his hands.
Yeah,
There's nothing odd about it.
I see it too, Craig, and I find it quite odd and quite unbelievable. I mean, why don't they turn the camera? Why is the camera off?
But we call that an argument from incredulity, because you finding something unbelievable doesn't really mean that it is unbelievable.
Well, it's unbelievable to me so far. I mean, you've heard of the fourth wall, I believe it's called, in television and film.
Yes.
Where the camera
I break it quite often.
Why won't they turn the camera around ever?
They look at Earth quite often. I mean, there's a 24-hour live stream of the ISS looking at Earth.
I tell you guys, I hear you, but that looks very fake.
Again, incredulity. There's no evidence that it's fake. This is exactly how
it's inconsistent. What one would expect if in fact we were flying around Earth in a vehicle.
Why is it inconsistent? What about it is inconsistent?
What they're doing, I believe, I could reproduce with cameras in a studio tomorrow.
Probably. Doesn't mean
that it's fake.
I mean, it would take a lot. It would take a lot to make it look as believable as this. But I'm not saying that these things are unfakeable. But there is no evidence that NASA have ever faked anything, because everything can be verified.
I believe these videos are evidence. I believe these videos are evidence of video manipulation.
There's zero evidence of manipulation at all. This is how people would look in low gravity. It's simple.
I want to make sure I understand. You believe the people we're looking at in this video are in outer space, in zero gravity.
No, they're not in zero gravity. They're technically in about 88% of Earth's gravity, but they're in free fall towards the Earth.
I see. Yeah.
So what you're seeing there is
if you were in
similar.
free fall, when you ride those amusement parks that take you up and drop you straight down, and you let go of like a tennis ball or a penny in your hand or something, and it just floats in front of your face. It's not really floating in front of your face, no matter. I mean, you know that you can see the Earth behind it as you drop. But if you couldn't see the Earth behind it and you were in free fall, you'd be like, holy shit, that penny's just floating there. That's called a frame of reference.
Yeah, I've seen the free fall planes. I've seen how they practice zero gravity or low gravity. But I got to tell you, the hardest thing, guys, is a problem for the heliocentric model in the ISS. That looks terrible.
I mean, again, that's just an argument for incongruity. It looks exactly as we would expect in, low Earth orbit. I mean, there's videos that are literally hours long that are uncut footage of them doing tours of the space station. Let me ask you,
Unbelievable. The pin is unbelievable. If I were producing a video in low Earth orbit, believe me, guys, it would look a lot better than that. You would.
Okay, well, there's an issue with your whole statement then, because do you not think that if NASA were faking it, they would make it look a lot better then?
Actually, no, because I think that NASA really sucks at their photography, at their imagery. I think that the images from Hubble are horrible. I think the Apollo landings look like child's play. I think it looks comical.
It looks exactly as it should. There's no all you're doing is going, it looks weird to me, therefore I don't believe it. But actually everything looks exactly as it should look. That is what we would expect on the heliocentric model. There is no problems there.
Astronauts on the moon looks like
exactly as we would expect in 1/6 gravity. Exactly as we would expect.
Looks like Keystone Cops.
It's exactly as we would expect.
It looks like it's been slowed down.
Well, let me just debunk that it looks like it's been slowed down, because that's impossible to do. There is a certain amount of footage that in those times slow speed cameras could have actually recorded, and the amount that they recorded for it to be slowed down was there physically wasn't enough storage that existed in the world to be able to record that and have it slowed down and played at double speed. No, it's physically impossible.
You're saying that if it was filmed in a studio in England by Kubrick, it would have been slowed down?
No, the cameras didn't exist to be able to do that. The actual the main thing is the footage from the moon was at a certain frame per second. That no entertainment cameras existed that could do that.
Craig, do you know where's that original footage now from the moon shots?
In NASA.
I read that NASA lost the footage.
Well, you read wrong, because that's just nonsense. NASA didn't lose anything. That whole thing's just a big flat Earth non sequitur that is completely false, honestly. NASA didn't lose anything. Some old magnetic tapes, they degrade over time, but there was backups of everything. Every bit of footage and audio is accounted for.
Yeah, and I wanted to speak on the ISS for a second.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak on the ISS first. You had mentioned something about the production value that comes out of the ISS and how it looked like it was a joke and it just didn't look real and whatnot. What you got to understand is that it's really expensive to send things into space. It's not cheap at all. So they have to take up there what they can. The ISS is not a production studio up there. It's a space laboratory. Most of their things that go up there are based on scientific experiments that they want to run in low Earth orbit or outside of, the Earth's atmosphere, whatever the case may be, but they want to do that up in space. That's the purpose of the ISS. So just because the production value that comes from the ISS is not the greatest, well, that's understandable. There's not a production team up there. There's a bunch of scientists up there that are operating a camera equipment,
consumer grade equipment,
to get to the best as they can. Yeah, the best they can, and they're not doing a bad job of it. No matter what anybody may say, they're not doing a bad job of it. It's just that the ISS has a more purposeful, like a more scientific purpose than a production value purpose.
And
yeah, I hear you guys. But at 21, they get $50 million a day in their budget or something ridiculous. 21 billion.
Yeah.
Production
Okay,
I can't.
well, before you go on with the incredulity about the amount of money that you earn, one thing that's very important that everybody should realize is that NASA are a federal agency. Every single cent of their budget can be traced for what they've spent it on. NASA have currently 18,000 employees, 32 different buildings and laboratories throughout the United States, and a whole bunch of satellites and rockets that they put up in space, which costs a lot of money. Every single penny of NASA's budget is accounted for and should be severely increased.
Let's think about it, Craig.
Yes.
To what end? 18,000 employees, billions of dollars
To what
a
end?
year.
They've had a space. They've had a
Hold
space
on.
station for 20 years. They've advanced human technology so
We have a
much.
couple of Apollo landings that are questionable. We've got some ISIS videos. We got some. I mean, I don't think what's coming out of NASA justifies the hundreds of billions of dollars the American people
Oh wait,
are spending.
do you think NASA should be recording and telling everything that they, showing everything that they do all the time? No, NASA aren't in the business of proving things to anyone. They have been. There's been a space station in orbit for about 20 years, which has taught us an incredible amount about the way that our bodies work whilst we're in space, about the challenges that we need to overcome for long-term space travel. NASA have been researching and developing things since their inception. After wait, let me finish. After the Apollo program ended, because frankly, they'd been to the moon and they could only knock golf balls about and pick up rocks so many times. So political and public interest in the mission to go into the moon waned. That means that the amount of money that were given to NASA also went down. So NASA don't get anywhere near the amount that they used to get. They currently get about, 15 cents off of every
They get
American?
$21 billion a year.
Yeah, and that's not, do you know how
Yeah,
much it costs to put shit into space?
That's 15 cents a day per American. 15
It's
cents a
21
day per American, and we
Yeah.
15
It's 20.
cents a day,
It's
15 cents a day per American.
They've got a
Okay,
space station
I understand.
to operate.
Kenyatta, hold on.
I
Kenyatta,
just
out
wanted
of
to
the
make
18,000 employees they have, how many of them? Hold on, Kenyatta. Out of the 18,000 employees they have, how many of them do you think have a master's degree, minimum?
I really wouldn't care, team, to tell you the truth. That what I
It's
care
kind
about.
of
No,
important.
but then you take, but they have to be paid, right? I mean, they're not just gonna use their master's degree to go be broke, living off of it, being homeless, can continue the NASA lie. I mean, they go to work, they get paid a professional salary that has to come out of somewhere. Rocket launches have to be paid from something, right? I mean,
They are
what
paid.
budget do you think that comes out of?
If I can make my point, team, that I believe it's a make-work
Sure, go ahead.
program. I believe that if I came to you and told you I discovered a solar system millions of light years away, and I want you to pay me $1 billion to go explore it for you, will you give me that money? I think you talk about con
If you had
men.
the means, if you had, no, well, okay, but no. If you had the means, or if you had a legitimate, okay, so do you agree that rockets actually take off?
Say what?
Kenyatta, do you agree that rockets actually take off from somewhere? Do you agree that rockets actually take off from Florida and go somewhere?
I've seen images of rockets taking off. Yeah, I've seen rockets take off. Yeah.
So, at the minimum, we're advancing aerodynamics. Do you agree that the jaws of life, which are, do you agree that they're an important tool for society and saving lives, maybe future family lives? Like, these come from NASA. Our money goes towards things like this.
Let me just
we're not just giving money to con men.
Yeah, let me just tell you a few things that we wouldn't have without NASA, Kenyatta. One sec. Here's just a list of a few things that we wouldn't have without NASA and the advancements that they've given us. Camera phones, scratch-resistant lenses, CT scans, LEDs, landmine removal, athletic shoes, foil blankets, water purification systems, dust busters, air thermometers, home insulation, the jaws of life, wireless headsets, memory foam, freeze-dried food, adjustable smoke detectors, baby formula, artificial limbs, computer mice, and portable computers. All advancements that have came about due to things that NASA have done.
I don't buy
Pins
that.
that can ride on walls? That right there, that can ride on walls.
Hey, listen,
Yeah.
guys.
Come on now.
The ROI
I know you.
on
I know
100
you were a kid in school like me, and you wrote on the wall, and your pen went out, and you were like, "Shit, man! I wish somebody would invent a pen that
That's
could
what I'm
I could
telling you,
write
man.
while standing up on a
needed
wall."
those hundreds. It's worth the hundreds of billions of dollars of investment to write on walls. Yeah.
But okay, so a
apart from
rocket
all that
launch
stuff.
today cost about 57 million. It costs about $57 million to launch a rocket today. Where do you think that money comes from? Where do you think the money goes toward to pay the people who put that rocket, make that rocket launch happen?
I think that money comes from small businesses. It comes from individuals. It comes from children. It comes from families. It comes from people who could use it for other things.
15 cents a day.
Okay.
21 billion a year.
But each American pays 15 cents a day.
We
That's
pay
it.
collectively $21 billion. Imagine what else we could do
For
with 21.
amazing advancements in humanity.
How many
Any-
children
okay.
we could actually educate.
Anybody's life, hold on, anybody's life that has ever been saved by the dolls, do you think they would ever bitch about them, their parents, their children, their children's children, ever having to pay 15 cents a day to have that one event to save their life with that one technology?
If they believe they had to fly to the moon to invent the jaws of life, probably so. I don't believe those two things have anything to do with each other.
No, that's not, they used a technology from the moon to develop the jaws of life. They
Yeah.
said, "Oh, we see a benefit technology and using it here on Earth."
Like dustbusters. NASA didn't invent dustbusters, but NASA's improvements in small energy efficient motors allowed the development of portable motors that you can use in handheld vacuum cleaners. It was because of their
Sounds great,
advancements.
Greg. It sounds great, but I'm not convinced that is the best return on investment for the American people.
Well, you're forgetting all the other things that they are doing, like advancing humanity by allowing us to figure out what happens when we are in space. We've got, NASA aren't just sitting there doing nothing. We've got the Artemis missions coming up. We're literally going back to the moon to create a permanent manned base so that we can spearhead missions further on into the solar system to Mars and maybe even some of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn in the future. That you're not getting nothing out of it. You are getting humanity advancing in massive leaps and bounds. That's what you're getting. And I think that's worth it. And I think it should be a lot more. Do you know how much NASA get compared to the military budget of the United States of America?
NASA's gotten $1.17 trillion.
And they have spent it well.
$1.17 trillion adjusted for inflation.
And they've spent it well.
Really weak home movies and some camera tricks, guys.
They're in space. They have to pay to get there. Every single cent of NASA's budget can be accounted for. That's what you're not getting here. You can Kenyatta, wait. You can literally go back and trace every single cent of NASA's budget and see what it has been spent on.
And Craig, I can go back and trace every single cent of the Catholic Church as well. They're both selling fantasies. The Catholic Church is selling
not selling fantasies. False association fallacy, dude.
NASA is selling the fantasy of what happens in outer space.
No, they're not selling any fantasy. They're not selling anything. They are advancing the human race. That is it. Do you deny that there's even do you deny that the space station's there? Is the ISS there or not? Do you deny that the ISS is even in space?
Well, before we get into denying anything, which is a religious construct, you don't need to deny things in science.
You've been denying a lot tonight.
I believe that I'm actually challenging some of your dogma.
No, there is no dogma. We have scientific facts.
It's tremendous dogma.
No, nothing that we said is dogma.
So Kenyatta, but Kenyatta, give me a second on that because I do want to point this out because Fight's going to get to a point that I know where he's leading to, and I want to prepare you for this. to show you how not dogma this is. Okay, we actually have a friend of ours named Red's Rhetoric, who, with another friend of ours named Astronomy Live, took measurements of their own of the space station. Okay. Now, of course, they used an app to know exactly when the space station would be going overhead in front of them. It's a rare occurrence. It happens. It only happens at certain places. Like everywhere else, when it goes overhead, it might not be in line with the moon. But at certain times over your head, it might be in line with the moon. Now, what he did is he took two different measurements. Him and his friend took two different measurements from a known distance apart, and then used trigonometry to determine not only the speed that the object was traveling at, but the height that it was at as well. Okay, now this was all done with no assumptions whatsoever, strictly observational. In fact, he didn't even take into account the curvature of the Earth, just to satisfy anybody that would say you presupposed that the Earth was curved. So I'm gonna turn it over to Fight, since he already has it loaded up. He'll walk you through the observation. You can tell us where he made a mistake. Okay.
So, like he was saying, Red's Rhetoric and Astronomy Live, what they basically did was they set themselves up. All right, let me get this up so I can explain what they did. To the right bit. Right. So, Red's Rhetoric and Astronomy Live, they set themselves up about a kilometer apart. Okay, so that's these two guys at the bottom, right? And because they were 1 kilometer apart, and they both knew from their position when the ISS was going to transit the moon, they were able to get two different shots of the ISS transiting the moon because of parallax, right? You know, if you look at things from a different angle, then you're going to get parallax. And based on the known distance that they were apart, and the fact that angle A will be the same as angle B, they were able to do calculations using basic trigonometry to determine the speed, the size, and the height of the ISS. And this is, they didn't take anything from NASA, right? And this is just purely using their observations. They were able to calculate that the ISS was at a height of about 326 miles, and that the ISS was traveling at about 17.
No. That's the distance from the observer to the ISS, the straight line distance to the observer.
Oh, wait, which one's the?
From the observer to the ISS. Go on. The next one. Okay, so the first thing they did is they used trigonometry to determine the straight line distance from the observer to the ISS, which was 524.73 kilometers. There's the math they used. This is very, very, very basic math. You can use the you can go back later and check everything, make sure it's right. But believe me, nobody even tries to contest this information. It's all mathematically sound. So go on to the next part, Fight. Okay, now Astronomy Live happened to be able to measure at the exact time of transit what his elevation was, which was 53 degrees. Okay, that gave them another trigonometry equation, which I believe go to the next slide, Fight. It's gonna have it there.
Yeah, that's it. So they it's 500. The straight line slight is 524.73 kilometers times the sine of the angle 53, which is their altitude. So and then they were able to determine the height above the Earth of the ISS, which was 260.39 miles, which matches with what the NASA tell us to be true. Now,
hey guys, I accept this, guys. I mean, I'm not going to contest any of that. I would be a lot more convinced if one of the astronauts just took his iPhone out of his pocket, put it up against the window, and let me see Earth via video from space.
But I mean, they've done things a lot.
So then
show me that video, guys.
The question is, Kenyatta, hold on, Kenyatta, do you agree or disagree that the atmosphere goes off into space and that space continues on, into the nothingness and it becomes outer space? Do you agree with that concept or no?
It's a good question.
I'm sorry?
It's a good question, team. And when I think about it, I have to answer, I don't know. I've seen no evidence of an
Okay.
infinite vacuum.
So
No one says it's an infinite vacuum.
So if you, well, hold on. Let me answer that real quick, because absolutely yes, you understand the concept of wind resistance, obviously, and that, you know, if you were traveling 17,000 miles an hour and you put your hands out on the surface of the earth, it would rip your arm off. You go a little bit higher, it would still rip your arm off, but there'd be less force because there's less atmosphere. Go higher and higher and higher, and eventually you'll get to a point where there's so little atmosphere that it's not going to do anything to you to keep you from moving at 17,000 miles per hour. Well, this was measured to be moving at 17,000 miles per hour. So therefore, there is a point at which the atmosphere is completely gone. It's above the Kármán line, which is technically the separation between upper atmosphere and you know, the lower space, like low Earth orbit space, where there's not really, at that point you stop using aerodynamics to operate a craft, and you start using astrodynamics, which is based on orbital mechanics.
You know, guys, as I look at the videos you're showing, and I hear you, team, and that all sounds good, man, but it's becoming indistinguishable from Hollywood. I'm watching.
Wait, I thought you said
production.
it was low quality.
Well, it is. It's
Well,
low quality.
Hollywood's a lot higher quality.
Okay, but still a production. And I mean, the point is that I'm looking at this astronaut in a polo shirt and khakis standing in this device talking to me, giving, you know, all, look, man, point the camera out the window. I don't want to see his face.
They're going to in a second, but this is a
Show
big.
Earth.
They're going to in a second, but this is a big tour of the ISS, and they're explaining what each section does as they get to it. But there actually is a part in this tour where they go above a hatch and look out of it, and you see Earth through it. I'll provide you with the link to this video. But one of the important things about this is that this is an hour and 5 minutes long. And they're going through different buildings. It's one single take between the camera that they're passing backwards and forwards. It's an impossible thing to fake, considering that this was streamed live.
Well, they're showing me everything. Everything they're showing me could be done on Earth.
No,
Just show me something that could be done on Earth.
They couldn't be floating like this.
How? Yeah, how?
This is
how could they do this for an hour long on Earth?
I'm trying to find the
make every space movie ever made was done on Earth.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so you can simulate space. You can simulate space in a studio, gentlemen. That's not
like this. You can.
There's a precedent for that.
No,
just
not
point
like
your
this. You
little
can.
iPhone, just point your iPhone out of the window and let me see Earth on video, rotating and moving and
look
clouds.
At him. No, look at him. Look at him.
Why would you think?
But look at him. Look at what he's doing right now. How is this possible that he's doing that here on Earth when everything accelerates to the ground? Why is he not accelerating to the ground? For an hour long, for an hour straight.
How do they do it in Space Odyssey?
Many takes. This was one.
Well,
take.
those aren't. That's not one long take. Yeah, that's one long take that they're doing in movies. In movies, it's consistently jumping and cutting and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Let's just agree to disagree here. Just for the record, just show that. Just point your iPhone out of the window, and I'm done arguing.
Yeah, there's a point. That's what I'm saying, Kenyatta. There's a point in this video where they do that. There is literally a point. The
moment I see that, Craig, I stand corrected.
Right, well, I have to find the exact timestamp. I can't remember exactly where it is, but
hold on. Let him. Yeah, Craig, you just keep looking for it. I'm sure you'll find it. Well, you know, the problem with this video is because it's so long that every little movement of it's going to jump like 2 or 3 minutes. You know,
if anyone
so
in the chat knows the point I'm looking for, the timestamp on that video, please let me know. But I'll provide you with that myself.
Actually, we people in the chat to work together and everybody take 2 minutes of that video. Somebody will find it.
Yeah, exactly. But it comes back to the questions of that we keep asking is where's the evidence to say that the Earth is flat? Because you haven't presented any evidence. All you've done is what, frankly, every proponent of the flat Earth does, and that is to say, well, I don't understand how this works, therefore it's fake.
Well, Craig, I mean, to be honest and be fair, I haven't really presented a case for the flat Earth. I've responded to the questions that you and team have put in front of me, and I've tried to answer some pretty difficult questions without any preparation. I don't do this for
Yeah,
a living.
I
don't
know, I
do
know.
this as a hobby. I haven't done it in a long time. Okay. However, I think that I can counter evidence or counterpoints to a lot of the things that you've brought up, particularly time and some resources available to me that have been censored. That said, the reason I believe the Earth is a level and stationary plane is because I still don't feel like I've seen any evidence or proof of motion, of movement, that the surface of the Earth is necessarily moving. The sun,
I showed you that.
I don't believe the sun is 93 million miles away. It looks local to me. It looks smaller than it's depicted in the heliocentric model. I think that we can both stand up here and declare that the sun is local. No, the sun is far. No, the sun is. I mean, we can.
No, I can demonstrate to you that it's not local with
can-
absolute evidence.
Well-
So let me just do this, team.
Yeah.
So this is another video taken by
Right.
Red's Rhetoric, okay? So let's for a moment assume that the sun is small and local, okay? That means that as the sun during the day moves towards you and then goes away, it will change in angular size in the sky. It would go from being smaller to getting bigger as it got close to you. That would happen. Do you agree?
One more time, Craig. As the Earth gets close, what would happen?
So if the sun is small and local, as the sun got closer to you during the day, it would change in angular size in the sky. It would look like it got bigger because it's getting closer to you, right?
I guess so. I haven't thought about that, but it sounds correct. Yeah.
Okay, so, however, what we find, again, thanks to Red's Rhetoric, is that if you look at the sun throughout the entire day, the angular size of the sun stays exactly the same. It doesn't change at all, which completely disproves the notion of the sun being small and local. Because if the sun was small and local, it would change in angular size throughout the day as it got closer to you. The sun
let me ask,
cannot
Craig,
be small and local.
if the sun is in fact 93 million miles away,
Yeah,
why do we have such fluctuations in temperature on Earth?
that's simple. I actually explained that earlier. It's to do with the axial tilt, right? So imagine the equator, which is kind of facing the sun, right? That's receiving a more direct ray of light. But that same amount of energy on the bit that's tilting away from the sun has to cover a larger surface area, which means that the surface will receive less energy from the same amount of sunlight. It's all to do with the tilt of the Earth, and that's why as the Earth rotates around, orbits the sun, because the tilt of the Earth stays relative to the sun. That's why you get summer and winter. Because at one point of the orbit you're tilting towards it, meaning you get a more direct ray of light, and one point you're tilting away from it, meaning that you get less energy per surface area.
In the heliocentric model, I think that in the geocentric model, what you're going to see is that the Earth, or the sun, is local and is closer to the Earth, where it's orbiting around the North Pole. And as you get further away from the equator and get further away, it gets colder, which is what happens in the so-called South Pole. I think that you can explain differences in temperatures in both models.
Yeah, but the flat Earth can't explain why the sun doesn't change in angular size.
Yes, that's one thing. What would you say what would you think if a car drove away from you and changed in size? It just remained the same size, and like, let's say you're looking at a car and its bumper is literally the size of your hand in front of you, okay? It drives a mile away and you look up and the bumper was the same size and it's still the size of your hand. Would you think something was off about that?
I think that the car must have gotten larger.
The car must have gotten larger, exactly. That would be the only way to explain that observation if the car was actually something, an object. Now, keep this in mind. You're looking at a mountain that's in the distance, okay? And you drive 5 miles down a highway and the mountain barely moves a little bit, but it moves further away from you. You look at it, but it's relatively the same size. Why is that?
I'm not sure.
Because it's
Why
large
is it?
and it's far away. Because it's large and it's far away. That's why the sun doesn't change in size, because it's large and it's far away. Because it's large and far away, no matter the difference in the distance as we rotate around during the daytime, during a 24-hour period of time, from sunrise to solar noon to sunset, we always remain relatively the same distance from the sun at all points. Therefore, while we're looking at the sun remains the same, remains at the same angular size to any observer on Earth. A small and local sun would do exactly what we were talking about with the bumper. As the largest the sun would ever be was when it was directly overhead. At all other points in time, it would be smaller. It would start off, in fact, at sunrise as just a point in the sky, and then it would close to you, it would get larger and larger and larger until solar noon, and then as it receded away towards sunset, it would get smaller and smaller and smaller until it became a point in the sky and was no longer, you would no longer be able to see it.
I think Father Ted can,
according
can
to your model.
I think Father Ted can explain this a bit better for us.
Just to back up 1 second, gentlemen. The assumption that the sun would appear to change in size if it was
It's not an
local.
assumption. Oh shit! What's that?
It
Sorry.
is. It is. It is an assumption.
No, it's a fact. If something
No.
is close to you and it gets closer, it gets bigger in angular size. There's actually a formula we can use to determine
Kenyatta.
how much. It's alpha equals 2 times the arctan of G over 2R.
Well, if something is close to you and is moving in a circle.
Kenyatta, let me say something to you real quick. Based on what you just said about the sizes would be an assumption, not a fact. Okay, when I explained that observation to you, that thought observation, where I said it drives away but remains the same size, you said, but the car would have to get bigger. Was that an assumption that you made, or was that a fact that for the car to remain the same size in your eye as it drives away, it would also need to get bigger? Were you assuming that, or is that a statement of fact? Because
Assumption.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's
No,
still an
that's a
assumption.
statement of fact. Objects that
Well-
objects that get further away from you decrease in angular size. This is a fact. Objects that get closer to you increase in angular size. That's why you were saying the car would have had to have gotten bigger, because if it would have remained the size, it's an observational fact that it would get smaller. Yes.
Team, it's still predicated upon the assumption that the object that we're observing is not changing in size. It was in fact growing.
No. I'm saying if the object is not changing in size, let's say we look at the same object, but hear me out though. Let's say we're looking at the same object that does not change in size. If it goes away, the fact that it gets smaller is not an assumption. That is a fact. It will get smaller in angular size as long as it stays the same size physically. Yes, it will.
The fact that it appears is an assumption.
The fact that it what?
Okay, the assumption that it appears smaller. For example, appearing smaller and being smaller are two different things.
Yeah,
Now, if you see
absolutely. That's our entire point.
If you see an object that's moving away from you and it appears to be the same size, that doesn't mean that it is the same size. It means it appears to be so.
So
Let me change the question up a little bit and make it a little bit. I'm going to set some parameters around it. We have a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter box that is not going to change size no matter
Team, one
what.
sec. I need to go and take a Riley. I'll be back in 1 sec, okay? I'll leave you in charge.
Okay, cool deal. Okay, so we have a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter box that is not going to change in size. The statement that that box will increase in angular size, do you think that that is an assumption or that is a fact?
I'm hesitant to call anything a fact, but
As it gets-
for the sake of the conversation,
It's a fact.
for the sake of
It's
the
a fact.
conversation,
Well,
I'll
no,
bring
no,
it to
no, it's a fact. You will never see an object remain the same angular size as it gets further away as long as it remains the same physical size. It will always decrease in angular size. This is a mathematical
Okay, accept
fact. Okay, this is one of the things that we can count on. When we're talking about a small and local sun, we also need to see if it fits our understanding of what reality is. An object that does not change in size, which it doesn't change in size, because for you, me, anybody on the Earth, at solar noon, they look up and it's about 0.53, I think, degrees in angular size. Okay, so if it goes from each person on their solar noon, if it goes from person to person and it's always the same size, then it's safe to assume that the sun always remains the same physical size. Generally, it might get a little bigger, a little smaller, whatever, but generally it's the same exact size at all times, okay? So if it remains the same size physically, then to us visually, we should see it when it's furthest away, it should be smaller, and as it approaches us, it should get larger, and then as it recedes away, it should get smaller again. And what we see in reality is that it never changes angular size at all. It's always between 0.52 and 0.53 degrees in the sky.
Right, where are we at?
Oh, I just finished.
Right. So, Kenyatta, you said that if I could show you an astronaut looking out the window and showing the Earth in space, that it could convince you.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I'd like to just play this from this point. Here they are on the tour of the ISS. And just pops the camera out the window there. Is that not exactly what you asked for? I think also someone said at 1:15 as well. 1:45, sorry. So here again. Oh, there's a window.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to open it. I don't know.
Okay, this is the best I've ever seen so far, Craig. I'm excited.
Oh, there you go. Oh, they've just opened the hatch to look out the window, and there's the Earth.
Okay.
Exactly as
That's
it
the
should
Earth.
be. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the Earth, huh?
Uh-huh. That's them in low Earth orbit.
Why don't you think we're capable of? But let me ask you. Why don't you think we as a human species are capable of doing this?
Do I think we're capable? I didn't say we're not capable. My position,
Then
team,
how-
up until now, my position hasn't been that we're not capable. My position is that the evidence I've seen of what is claimed does not add up to me. I'm looking at this video now, and this is the best video I have ever seen in my life of Earth from space.
I've never seen this video. So this is
This is the best of all the trillions of dollars spent. What I'm looking at that little 10 seconds was the most convincing.
The trillions of dollars doesn't go. Okay, but the trillions of dollars doesn't go into convincing you that exists. The trillions of dollars goes into scientific study. That's what we need.
I get that marketing pitch, team. Okay, that's a marketing pitch. That gets a lot of people rich and a lot of salaries paid. I'm not convinced it's the best ROI scientifically. I'd rather see that money in the private sector, to be honest.
I mean, the private sector are doing amazing things as well, like, landing reusable
well,
rocket boosters
SpaceX
on
is the
drone
private.
ships.
Yeah, SpaceX is a private sector, and they get contracted, I believe, by NASA to do a lot of rocket launch. So it is going into the private sector.
In the 2019 budget for NASA, 87% of their budget went to contracts with SpaceX and Blue Origin and stuff.
Yeah, so we're seeing effectively public money being spent on private projects.
To help do what the agency is meant to do. They have to contract out things, don't they? Any agency is going to hire contractors.
Yeah, does a home builder just lay his own concrete and do his own plumbing and put the frame and do the roof all himself, or is there a possibility that he contracts other people out?
A team of home builders contract out. Also the Defense Department, also war contractors. It's
absolutely.
a hustle. It's a hustle, guys.
That's costing us 15 cents a day. And we're
Right.
getting something
A
out of it. We
trillion-
do get benefits out of it.
That $1 trillion could have been invested in the people. You know, I'm not convinced that.
Okay, but
these
that
little-
statement about it could have been invested in the people. I feel like it is invested in the people because the people to me means the human race, and NASA. They're not looking at real like a short-term thing. NASA are looking at long-term goals of humans and what we could possibly do in the future. You know, and that for me is a massive investment. If it means that the human species could survive an extra 1,000 years in the future, then I think the 15 cents a day that Americans pay now is an amazing return on investment.
Now, Craig, if you bear with me again, this is where I believe you're getting a bit dogmatic, and I start to see parallels between the Catholic Church and NASA. I think that we're talking about the Catholics are promising a better afterlife if you contribute to the church today and believe in church doctrine. The space people are promising a better life in outer space, or some kind of saving of savior type relationship with the human race by paying them a tithe to do their religious work, which is to explore this abstract space, which is a parallel to heaven that none of us mortals can access, but they can. I think that this is just another religion disguised as a science.
I mean, I have to disagree with you on many levels, mainly because, first off, NASA don't just do what they want. They're a federal agency. They do what the government tells them to do. If the government turns around and tells them, we're giving you a bit more budget so that you can figure out how to get to the moon, then that's what they're going to do. You know, they have to do as they're told. Whereas the private companies, they're in it for money. Elon Musk wants to make a lot of money from SpaceX and advance humanity while he's doing it. So there's not going to be lies there when he's trying to do something to, not only make humanity better, but make SpaceX a better company so that NASA will choose them when there's contracts available. There's the Catholic Church is something that you don't have to pay towards. You can choose to be in the Catholic church if you want. There's no religion around NASA because you don't really get a say. You don't get to go to NASA and pay homage or whatever. NASA are just there to do as they're told by the government.
But do as they're told by the government. Who's telling the government what to do? It's not the American people. Okay, the American people are not begging for space. Hold on, Craig. The American people are not sitting around begging for more space exploration.
Are you sure? I would.
Yeah, I am. The American people are worried about the economy. They're worried about feeding their children. They're worried about the environment. They're not worried about landing and building a colony on Mars.
The amount that they pay, the amount that NASA make, isn't going to change the economic fortunes of the American people. It's a tiny amount compared to the budget of America, right?
It debunks the idea that NASA is operating at the will of the American people.
I never said it was operating at the will of the American people. I'm saying it's operating at the will of the government, who you vote into office.
Who is the government supposed to represent?
Well, the government, you vote the government into office so that they can do the things that they think are best.
And the government, for all intents and purposes, works at the behest of very rich private corporations who have a disproportionate impact or influence on what the government does, which is why we spend so much money fighting wars or exploring space or shooting videos pretending to explore space.
Except they've never shot videos pretending to explore space. They've only ever shown what they're doing. That's the thing here. Your claims of it's fake are unfounded because nothing that you say looks fake is actually fake and looks exactly as it should look if they're in the circumstances that they are.
Well, let me ask you this, Craig. That I'm being asked to believe that in 1969, a rocket ship left Earth and navigated to the moon, which was supposedly 235,000 miles away.
About that, yeah.
At a time when the most powerful computer in the world was less powerful than a flip phone.
Cool. They didn't really need that many computers to send
They need some kind of computing power, I see.
Yeah, And there was a lady who spent a long time programming these certain things that the rocket would need. But the majority of the rocket was just good old hard quality engineering. You know, there wasn't a bunch of computers controlling the ship like you would probably have in modern rockets.
Okay.
It was all just hardcore engineering back then. Yeah, and the technology was absolutely available. We know how to create vacuum seals and how to pressurize things. So the technology to do it existed.
But I'm not even convinced that the depiction of the moon, as we've been taught, that there's effectively this planetoid, this mini planet, this rock-like object, 235,000 miles away in space, is what we claim it to be. That it's an object that's reflecting sunlight, when in fact it has 2%. A very different light spectrum than sunlight.
No, it doesn't. It reflects 2% of instant sunlight. You'll find it's exactly the same. It obviously is going to pick up some of the frequencies of the monolith on the moon. But if you have issues with the moon being what it is, then you need to start explaining the tides, because the tides happen because of the moon. And when you do the calculations based around Newton's laws, it all works out. You can't just deny the moon without removing explanations for things like the tide.
Why is moonlight cooler than sunlight?
It's absolutely not. There's no such thing as cold light. What you're talking about is radiated cooling, sorry. So you're talking about, for instance, taking an infrared thermometer and shooting it at some shade and then shooting it at some moonlight and going, oh, the moonlight's colder, right?
Well, no. I'm just talking about measuring. I'm just talking about moonlight. For example, if I put a thermometer in moonlight, let's assume it's 67 degrees.
Uh-huh.
And then I take it out of the moonlight and I put it in shade, it's going to be warmer than 67 degrees.
Absolutely. And do you know why?
Now, if I put a thermometer in sunlight and it's 67 degrees, and I take it out from 67 degrees.
Let's stick with the moonlight first. Let's stick with the moonlight. Why is something in the moonlight going to be cooler than something that's in shade? There's a very simple explanation for it.
I'm open to it.
Okay,
I'd like to hear it.
During the day, when we're getting energy from the sun, we're receiving energy, okay? During the night, everything that's received energy, the ground, buildings, radiates that heat energy back into space. So let's say you're a rock that is, you've got two rocks, right? That have both been receiving heat energy throughout the day. And then at night, they're just sitting there. But one rock is completely open sky, moonlight shining on it. The other rock is in the shade of a wall, right? Now, the one that's in the shade is going to be warmer than the one that's in the open air, because the one that's in the open air has more space to radiate the energy back out. The one that's in the shade literally is being blocked from radiating the heat back out. It's a phenomenon called radiative cooling, and it explains why you get colder at night, because you radiate the heat back out, and it explains why things appear to be colder in moonlight, which will be open air, than in moon shade, which will be covered. It's a simple.
It sounds like a pretty good answer.
And
pretty good answer. But
Kenyatta,
one last thing.
Let me give you.
Hold on, team. Before you move on, the question I have is, if the moon is this rocky planetoid, I don't know if that's a term or not, the sphere as well as the Earth, and we're to believe that the sun light hits this rocky planetoid, and not only does the light bounce or reflect from the moon back down to Earth, 235,000 miles away.
Yeah. That
the moon also, the sun makes the moon seem to glow, the light to emanate from within. Now, when I point a light at other rocks, when I look at sunlight, large boulders, I don't see anything glowing. I don't even see light bouncing off of anything round or rocky.
When you say it looks like it was emanating from within, what do you mean by that? Because it doesn't look like it's emanating from within.
Light appears to originate from what I'm looking at. When I look at the object of the moon.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at the craters on the moon?
It seems brighter at the surface and dim, as if the light is emanating from the moon.
Right,
Have I
okay.
seen craters?
So yeah, have you seen craters on the moon, right?
I've seen pictures of them, yes.
Yeah, they're darker. They're in shadow. They could not be. The moon could not be a light source and have craters that create shadows within them. And the reason why the center of the moon will look brighter than the outer edges is because that is the point you're going to have a more direct reflection of sunlight. It's simple explanations.
Yeah, I think, Craig, that a more simple explanation is that we don't really understand the nature of the moon yet.
We do.
I think
Absolutely.
that I think it's human tendency to fill in the blanks with whatever we need. We don't like unanswered questions, and
Yeah, that's why we went to the moon.
talk. Well, that's why we say we did.
No, we did.
I think
That's why we
There's a lot
invented
of-
God. That's why we invented God, because we don't like unanswered questions.
Yeah.
and I think that's why we've also attempted to become God,
We
because
haven't.
we don't like unanswered.
Everything's explainable exactly with physics. You know, everything that I say is back up with evidence and maths and
No.
countless
I think so,
experiments.
but there is a bit of arrogance in our assumptions, Craig.
I don't make any
You know,
assumptions.
well, yeah, I think so. This
No.
idea that we know absolute, because if you know with absolute authority, if you know things with absolute authority, that makes you God.
No, it doesn't.
If you have absolute knowledge,
Because
if
I
you
know
have
that 1
absolute
add
knowledge-
1 equals 2 does not make me God. It
Yeah.
just means that I know when things are facts and when
well,
things are not.
if you know what's happening a million light years away, if you can tell me that there's water on some solar system or some planetary system that we can't see, if you tell me with absolute knowledge that you are behaving as God.
No, I can back up what I say with facts and evidence. God doesn't do that. I don't remember the last time God turned up and went, oh, here's some evidence that I created the universe. Doesn't happen. But what does happen is anything that comes from science, that is actual proper science, comes with mountains and mountains of evidence to back it up. Gravity, we know exists. There's mountains of evidence to back up gravity.
Well,
There's
actually, Craig, there's a difference between nothing comes from science. Things come from scientism. I think there's a
there's no
difference.
such word as scientism.
Well, I'm making it up then. There's science with a small s, and there's science with a big S, which I think is much more of an institution, and it's much more about authority. That's why I call it dogmatic, and I analogize it to the Catholic Church.
But that's very conspiratorial because you keep forgetting the fact that I can back up everything I say with evidence.
Well, I hear you saying it, and I think that you've pointed to some evidence, but you've also come to conclusions that aren't necessarily supported by all evidence.
No, all evidence supports me. That's the thing. That when you say there's holes in the heliocentric model, there isn't. There is only people that don't understand certain aspects of the heliocentric model. Every single bit of the heliocentric model is explained perfectly. There is no problems with it. And that is a simple fact that so many people don't understand. Because flat earthers, wait, one sec. Flat earthers don't try to debunk the heliocentric model. Flat earthers try to debunk what they think the heliocentric model is.
Craig, if that were the case, it wouldn't be necessary to censor.
There is no censor. And YouTube has nothing to do with the scientific community.
I've been on with you for almost 2 hours now, and I've been searching the entire time. I can't find 90% of the content that was there just a few years ago.
That's nothing to
Well,
do
okay.
with science.
Let me
Absolutely
address
nothing to do with
that
science.
because let me address a lot of this, okay? Because we do actually get a lot of people that will delete their videos after we debunk them. So
Oh, yeah.
one of the
Wait,
actual
team, didn't you
topics
manage to get an
that
entire
people
channel
like to
taken
watch
down?
is flat Earth.
Remember M. Benz? Remember when he was a thing?
Well, he didn't take it down. He actually, or it didn't get taken down.
He
took
hid
it
everything.
down.
Yeah, he
and
hid
simply, simply because I debunked him with science, with explanations on 3 back-to-back of his videos, and he just didn't like it. I think, if anything, it made him aware of things that he was not aware of. You know, when you're like, why does this happen? And you're like, well, this happens because of this. And you're like, oh, okay.
I believe that, but I'm suspecting there's some, is there an algorithm or something that YouTube is using? I don't know what's going on. It's just that I'm suspicious of any organized censorship.
Right. Here's what YouTube did with regards to flat Earth, and it wasn't flat Earth specifically. It was a kind of a crackdown on conspiracy theories. So chemtrails, 9/11, Sandy Hook, all these ridiculous conspiracy theories. If there wasn't substantiating evidence, YouTube decided to not promote it anymore. So they're still there. I literally searched. Wait, hold on. I searched. Wait, hold on. I search flat Earth every day on YouTube because I constantly need new things to debunk. And there's nothing scientific about it because YouTube is nothing to do with science. YouTube is just a video sharing site, that's all. And they have absolute authority over... YouTube have absolute authority over what gets promoted and what gets shown on their site. I've come foul with the rules many times.
There's been a non-scientific decision to remove certain content.
It's nothing to do with science.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, the content that gets removed violates guidelines. The content that gets removed violates guidelines. They may not promote you, they may not monetize your video, and we go through that too, getting demonetized on live streams and videos that we create, all because of the topic we choose to speak on. But it's not that they're singling us out or anything like that. It's just I'm sorry?
The fact I said that they're shaping opinion, gentlemen. Okay, they're shaping opinion. The fact that they would remove, let's say...
Yeah, they're very leftist. Yeah, I would say they're very leftist. I would say YouTube's very leftist, so...
But that's not evidence of anything. It's just YouTube doing what they want.
Yeah.
For example...
Yeah, that's, again, back to what I'm saying. They're a company that can have that can run their own model that they believe to be successful, and if they don't believe pushing conspiracies like Sandy Hook deniers helps them to have a successful business model, then they have every right to not push that content and even remove it from their site so they don't get known as the company to go look for Sandy Hook conspiracy shit.
However, there is many sites like BitTube and many others that have all these videos being promoted within their algorithm. And that gets rid of the whole claim of, oh, it's some kind of censorship, because you can bet Google have their fingers in all the pies, so Google are still going to be involved in BitTube in some way, and they still have all these ridiculous conspiracy theories being promoted constantly. David Icke is the top thing on BitTube at the moment. And team, we need to fucking attack that asshole.
Yeah, guys, I'm disappointed to hear that, man. I'm disappointed to hear that. I'm disappointed to hear these conclusions. I look up at the sky, and I see things in the sky that weren't there when I was a kid, and I have questions. And I've read some very interesting articles about what was called chemtrails. I've heard some scientists discuss
chemtrails. Absolutely no
such thing as chemtrails. I'd like to know more than Craig just declaring it doesn't exist.
Oh no, I've conclusively studied and done mountains of research Craig, into chemtrails. I did a very good video debunking it. And did you know that there was apparently chemtrails that the bombers sent over to Germany were putting out? Why would they do that?
Why would they do what?
Why would the planes that are going out to bomb Germany have massive chemtrails behind them?
I'm not sure they did, Craig.
They did.
But I do look up today.
They did.
But they weren't chemtrails. They were contrails because...
I look up in the sky today. I see tic-tac-toe pattern. And I see inconsistent trails. See, if it's a plane, why does it stop and start again?
Depends if they go through a different area of density or temperature in the air. Simple. There's nowhere on the planes to store massive amounts of fuel to pump out. It's just impossible. Contrails are things, chemtrails are not.
Yeah, so what Fight's talking about, and it's a really good point. This is just a simple misunderstanding that most people have. They just don't understand the physics of condensation, of water condensation. It's just not in your wheelhouse. It's not in mine either. But I've learned some things since I started doing this. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was that, like, during World War II, when hiding your planes for as long as you could so that you could surprise the enemy with air attacks, like bombings on cities, they would literally have these trails coming out behind them. Why would they be doing population control, contrailing, or or chemtrailing, whatever you want to say it is, okay? Why would they expose themselves to anti-aircraft guns, give their position away, just to put them, just for that one conspiratorial agenda.
Team, would
Look
you
at that,
accept
right there.
the idea that the presence of evidence of long contrails in the 1940s is not proof that we don't have chemtrails today?
That's
You know,
very
if you
backwards
say
thinking.
I would say that if they are in the 1940s, before conspiracy theorists were coming up with ideas about chemtrails, and someone said, no, look, this phenomenon that happens behind jet propulsion has been happening for much longer than people have been believing in chemtrails, and here's the video to show it, I would start to believe that maybe there was a second explanation that I'm not properly addressing.
I would say then the fact they start removing chemtrail videos, as people start asking questions, start investigating independently, start researching independently, suddenly they're removed.
Well,
And then you point to a video
that's
from
because
1940s. Hold on, Craig. And you point to a video from the 1940s, and you say, "Hey guys, there's nothing else to think about here. I've come to the conclusion that it's been settled." And we get into this culture of settled science and this consensus
because
science.
there is things that are settled.
Which is scientism, which is about
No.
authority. And anything that does not come from this particular source is deemed a conspiracy theory. It's the same thing as a church. If you get any kind of
starting
dog
and stopping the chemtrails there. Did you see that?
church, it's considered heretical. And that science, what's called science today, is starting to imitate the church.
Okay, no, you're
You
kind of
got
on your soap.
every-
One sec, I've got to stop. You're kind of on the soapbox there, and you're just going off on a ramble about conspiracies in general. Chemtrails don't exist, and that is a settled science because contrails exist. The physics of how contrails are formed because of exhaust and hot air meeting cold air. It is a settled science, so much so that they can create entire air shows around certain contrails that they do. You know, look at this. This is in 1943, all right? 1943, and you said, oh, how come it stops and starts? This is doing exactly the same there. And that is only because it went through a certain area of density and temperature that wasn't conducive to creating the contrail at that point. Unless they were doing chemtrails in the 1940s, this is absolute evidence that the entire chemtrail conspiracy is nonsense. And the fact that there is nowhere on the planes, there's nowhere on the planes that they could store all this stuff to be spraying. It's physically impossible.
Yeah, and they would have to be doing this at great risk to the pilots. And of all people, the pilots would know. The pilots would be the first ones going, hey, boss, why are we doing this? Like, why are we spraying this stuff out the back? They're shooting at us. Yeah, no, this is just like, that's completely illogical. Completely illogical.
So, gentlemen, I would completely agree with you if they weren't removing the videos. When they start removing things, it gets suspicious.
But
you don't need to remove
when you
things.
say they're removing the videos,
Continue.
yeah, but when you say removing the videos, who's removing them? Are the users removing them? Is it just not showing up in the search, but you go to the person's page and it's there? I mean, I have hundreds of videos out there. You type in my name and not 100 videos show up. Other people show up talking about me or me on Fight's channel or whatever. You know, there's like my videos eventually get pushed down in the algorithm towards the bottom when they're no longer relevant. I mean, this is something that happens across the board.
You know, Craig, when I observe what I consider to be chemtrails, when I watch them, I'm asking questions. What I see is these so-called contrails turn into clouds.
Yep, absolutely. That's going to happen. They're
That's
going to
exactly what they're doing.
I mean,
They're
let's
gonna
face
turn
it,
to clouds.
contrails are
The
clouds.
moisture was already in the air. Yeah, the moisture was already in the air. That's not something the plane put into the air.
Some of it is turned to ice particles because of when it condensates and you know the difference between the hot and the cold air meeting and the low pressure and high pressure above the wing. It changes the moisture in the air to water vapor and stuff that you can see. Dust particulates from the exhaust of the planes will help make it more visible. But there is no chemtrails. And the reason we can say there is no chemtrails comes down to basic physics. The planes do not have the amount of space or thrust and stuff required and fuel to be able to carry and dissipate all of this chemtrails, as well as have aviation fuel and passengers on board. They just couldn't do it. That's why you have to pay extra if you want to take extra luggage on your plane, because it costs more fuel.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes down to evidence, and there isn't any evidence that any of the things, flat Earth, contrails, none of these conspiracies, moonlight being cold, moon landing's fake, none of them actually have any evidence to back them up. When you look at the hard, cold facts, objectively and without any kind of bias, you reach one conclusion, and that is that they are telling you the truth. The Earth is a sphere, space is real, and flat Earth is just a fantasy.
Well, if that's the case, you don't need to censor, Craig.
No one censors it.
You know, if that's the case, you don't need to censor. I think that if that's the case, we would have better images of Earth from space.
There's lots of images of Earth from space.
Convincing. The one photograph you showed me of a perfectly spherical, perfect circle globe Earth is inconsistent with some of the other things that I hear coming from.
It's not
is it
perfect
what's his
circle.
name? Then why is this picture you showed me a perfect circle?
It wasn't.
Hey, I do want to make a small correction to something I said. I do want to make a small correction to something I said. There is, I started thinking, somebody said it in the chat, and then I started to think about it. Because a car, if you notice when a car runs, water drips from the tailpipe. So there is actually water vapor in the exhaust of the airplane, but I believe most of the water that forms the contrails comes from the atmosphere around it. And this is why that when they fly through certain patches where there's not enough pressure or not enough water vapor already in the air, even though there's still water vapor in the exhaust, it won't form a contrail. So sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was right, or corrected myself because I said something wrong.
Yeah. Well, guys, I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with how prepared you were. That's probably the best argument I've heard on the heliocentric model. I'm inspired to go back and do a little research myself. Maybe come back and we can chat about it again. But I think that your arguments are compelling.
We didn't even get into the good stuff. We've got a lot more.
Okay. I'm getting called to dinner. It's 7 p.m. here in California.
Okay, no worries. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Like I said, I know it was short notice for you as well, so I do appreciate that. But yeah,
look forward to it, man.
We could definitely bring you back again, because actually it's been an enjoyable conversation. So I'm sure me and team would like to talk to you again.
I enjoyed it, team. You as well, Craig.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of the day and enjoy your dinner.
You too, gentlemen. Take care.
Speak to you later. Oh, wow. Let me close out that pool.
Yeah. Wow. That was a good one.
All right, cool. Close. I'll make sure he can't hear us. Yeah, so denialism in full force then, really?
Well, I would say more his whole thing is an argument from incredulity.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely. Like it's 100% argument from incredulity. Doesn't understand the science, therefore the science must be wrong. It's a much easier explanation. The sun's just small and local, and all that stuff you said about how it would do whatever it would do if it was small and local. Well, I just don't believe it. So I'll stick with what I believe, and I think that's a strong part of his narrative. I mean, I thought the guy was a cool dude. You know,
yeah,
I don't have anything against him. I just think it.
So Jack even thinks we might be able to save him.
One thing that caught me is he thought we were. The one thing that he said, you guys are well prepared, and I was like, wait, what? When did we prepare for this?
Yeah, we don't need to prepare.
I literally showed up 2 minutes late to this.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared. This is just natural talk to me, you know. Of like, I've become such a conversationalist when it comes to people who believe in the flat Earth.
Oh yeah, we
that
can
I
do
can
this
sit
with our
there
eyes
and
closed.
just casually talk to them about. Yeah, exactly. I don't need even references anymore
Yeah.
to go back and talk about things. I can just tell people what it is.
He honestly seemed very naive to the whole flat Earth argument to me, because he didn't know that so many of the things that he was bringing up had been conclusively debunked already. He seemed like a very basic flat earther with the very, the 101 kind of questions, Well, NASA's fake, prove this to me, where's the curve kind of stuff. Which it makes me realise, before we went live, he said to me that he's been, although he's not technically a flat earther, he's been a flat earther, whatever, excuse me, sorry, since 1986. Like, how can you be a flat earther for that long and still be very ignorant to a lot of the arguments?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Right. Now we'll have him back.
I mean,
that was
some
fun.
people have been dumb for a long time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, some people have been dumb for a really long time in their lives.
Yeah, people in the chat saw my top today. Blue Lantern. Hope that we can get some sanity back. But anyway, I'm going to read the super chats and we're going to get out of here for tonight. It's been fun. Chat, you've been doing an absolute brilliant job of giving Gary Webenenga the Vicky treatment. Gary, you will be constantly timed out until you provide me with a email address so that we can talk live. Until then, little bitch, you just get timed out. Enjoy it. Crafty Keeler for €2 says, while you're waiting, be amazing and click like. Yeah, guys, please smash the like button. It really does help me out. The Plot Hole for $5 says, here's your NASA advert payment for the Plot Hole ad. Yeah, I'm going to actually shout this out every time I go live. The Plot Hole are going to be doing a series of debates, not on Flat Earth or anything, just on having fun, really. So it's called the Master Debaters Best In series. Every month they will look at your favourite horror film franchise and determine which film is the best in the series. The first debate is Saturday, May the 16th, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, live on YouTube. First franchise on the bill, A Nightmare on Elm Street. We will have trivia with prizes for all the viewers. Head on over to the YouTube channel, The Plot Hole, for the live debate. That sounds like an absolute blast, a debate about some pop culture and stuff, team, right?
Yeah, and I think I don't remember what it is. Hold on, let me look at my Discord real quick. I'm doing something on the Plot Hole on Friday.
Oh, nice.
Let me pull it up. Let's see. Oh, wow. I'm talking with the second coming of Jesus.
Oh my God. Can I please come on? I want to be there. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, talk with the Plot Hole, but as long as he doesn't have a problem with it, of course, you're welcome to come on.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But yeah, I'm gonna talk. I get to rip the second coming of. It says he literally thinks he's the second coming. So
all the crazy.
That can be interpreted many ways.
Yeah.
That can be interpreted many ways that he is going to be the second coming. All right.
Plot Hole says yes, I can come on
that night, but hey.
Yeah, so that's
God,
I
was hoping he'd say no.
Plot Hole, please feel free to
save
spam
my
the
own
link
face.
to your YouTube channel in the chat. You should be a moderator. So, guys, go over, subscribe to the Plot Hole, and if you're not, also go to rockmetaltalk.com to get their live podcasts on Friday and see Team and me talk to someone who thinks he's the second coming. Fuck me. Crazy.
I'm gonna call him the second nutting.
Crafty Keeler for €2
The second
says
splooging.
Yeah. Crafty Keeler for €2 says Team Skeptic and FTFE love and respect you both. Well, I'm pretty sure I can speak for Team here. We love you too. All of you.
Yeah.
Even you, Rangerman9404, who says for $5, fee fi fo fum, I smell a po. Poey as they come. I don't think he was a po. I think he was uneducated and uninformed. I'm going to take Team Silence.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking for a second that, to me, I didn't think he was a po the whole night The only time that I had any question raised was just now when you said, he says he's been a flat earther since 1986. And I started thinking to myself, I was like, 1986, that's, you know, like, I wouldn't think you were a kid flat earther. So you'd have to be an adult in 1986, so that puts you at about fucking...
Yeah.
52, 50 plus. He didn't sound like he was that old, but he could have been that old.
Who knows?
But that would be if he became a flat earther at 18, which I don't think that, you know, I don't know. That's a hard one. That when you told me that, I started doing numbers in my head, and I was like, now it doesn't make sense. If he said 96, maybe. He said 2006, okay.
No, he said 86.
That's fucking almost 40 years ago, goddamn.
I know, right? Oh, wait.
He doesn't
well
know,
done.
and he
Fucking
doesn't know
reminded
the
me that I'm nearly
arguments?
40, you cunt.
Hey,
Jared.
fuck off for talking about yourself in a negative fucking light for being almost 40 when I'm over 40, you dipshit. You need to be more sensitive to your guests that are on and their age,
You know I love
ageist.
you, old man. Although Jared Stain is now my best
off.
friend in the world.
Get
he
off
says-
my lawn.
Jared Stain is now my best friend in the world because he said, looks like you've dropped some weight. I know that's a tough way to go, buddy. I have. Thank you for noticing. I've lost nearly a stone in the past month. So thank you for noticing. I'm not going to be fight the tight shirt forever.
Yes, you will.
Monkey cat pat pat.
I said, I
five-
told somebody earlier, it looks like with every new video, you're either moving the camera closer and your shirts are getting smaller in every video.
Monkey cat pat pat for $5 says, I don't think he's a Poe. I do think he can be converted to glow earth and brought back from the dark side. Well, let's see. He did seem open to conceding to a lot of things and was excited by the ISIS video. ISIS? ISS, not ISIS, fuck's sake. Tommy Gronville for 50 Nokias says, oh, we read that out here. Check the flights, SA223, etc. Yeah, there is so many flights that are actually impossible on a flat earth, so thank you for that, Tommy. And then we got the plot hole for $2 says, seriously, is this Wayne Bradley pranking us? John Watson for £2 says, who is this Cupid stunt? Indeed. Vishanti
Wayne
for,
Brady.
yeah. Vishanti for $2 says, show him Cool Hard Logic's series on geocentrism. Yeah, that's another thing. Flat earthers don't understand that geocentrism does not mean flat earth. Like, they think when they say geocentric, it means flat earth. That's because they're stupid. Fohammer335 for $2 says, this flirth makes my brain sad. Always. Crafty Keela for €2 says, CGI. Crafty Keela for another €2 says, ask for any proof beyond perception of curvature. Flat earthers don't bring proof. We've learnt this. Mouth Breather for $5 says, can Kenyatta explain how Polaris changes altitude as you change latitude, and then can FTFE? Yes, the reason it changes as Polaris changes as you change latitude is because you're moving away from it on the globe, and that's why with a sextant, every degree of latitude changes an angle in the sextant that decreases as well. Bella Charge for $5 New Zealand says, they have removed some, team has had his own videos taken down, and they very often get demonetized, hence why we super chat these good people. And we love you for it, guys. Obviously...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, whoever said that. Who
Bella
said that?
Charge.
Who made that comment?
Bella Charge.
Bella Charge, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
And you know, guys, the super chats are amazing and allow us to keep doing this. And we could never be thankful enough. And the guys that support us financially, it blows my mind that you keep doing it. And of course, if you're not able to support me financially, I still love you. And the best way to share my stuff is to, put it on Facebook and Twitter, and that will really help the channel as well. Crafty Keela for €2 says, reminder to like this video, people. Yeah, what we got? 253 likes. Let's see if we can get up to 300, guys. John Watson for £2 says, hashtag AOK language, Timothy. AOK been swearing, has he? And we got Angel Gary for $199 says, provide evidence for your flat earth. They never will. John Watson for £2 says, AOK's tongue is cheap, smothered with sheep. Something going on with AOK in the chat, is it? Huge Arse for $6.66 Australian. Kenyatta, I kept calling him Zenyatta because that's a character in Overwatch, a healer, a very good healer. Although I tend to use him as damage, honestly. You fucking charge up that thing, get someone come around the corner, instant kill. But I kept calling him Zenyatta. Most universities can do the moon refractor experiment. I suggest you call your local one Hail Sagan. Hail Sagan, indeed. Carrie Oliver, $33.33 says, just like every other flatty, he's not listening to your answer, just thinking about his next argument. These are never proper conversations. Better Charge for $2 New Zealand dollars says, thanks, Bob. Yeah. He's never going to live that down, is he, team?
No. No.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you,
15
he's
per hour
so
drift.
fucking lucky that we don't fucking play the whole one where he's like, oh, we've released the results now, and that's bad for the flat Earth.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's a fucking con man. He's a con man.
Better Charge for 10 New Zealand dollars says, can you explain why no one has gone to the dome and spray painted it? Have you seen where the taggers get to? They get placed you look at and just go, how? I know some of the Banksy art appears in the most crazy places. I saw some very early Banksy art when I was a kid. Well, not a kid, maybe a teenager, because he's from Bristol. And his stuff just started appearing in Bristol. And like people got really excited because they could recognise the style. That was awesome. Monkey Pat Cat Cat, I said that wrong. Monkey Cat Pat Pat for $2 says, I take back my earlier statement, he can't be saved. A lot of denialism.
Yeah.
Yeah. JL Warren from $9.99 says, if the government suddenly came forward and confirmed everything you are asserting, would you believe it? If yes, then explain why your epistemology is strict for our side but not for yours. JL, you are an absolute king at debating, and I want to get you on debate
I
some
like
more.
JL.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you something. JL's a very intelligent intelligent person
Very
to
smart.
speak with. Like the way he responds to everything has a basis in some kind of science or something. Like nothing is just an emotional response to a question. Everything is backed by something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I like you, JL. I
Yeah.
like you, JL.
You did amazing on the debate on my channel and on the plot hole as well. I definitely got to get you on to debate again. Crafty Keela for €2 says, what's his imaging qualifications? 0. War Codder, I can never say this right. War Codderard 01 for $5. NASA is great at an elaborate conspiracy, but terrible at cinematography. Maybe they get JM to do their cinematography. Kaiser Cube for $20.
I don't think that is that bad.
No, actually, no. Sorry, NASA. Kaiser Q for $20 says, Kenyatta, please explain 1973 Skylab footage using only analog and real film wheel footage, with no digital compilation, no CGI, too big to be a Douglas C9 or 727, doing acrobats in their tighty whities can't be faked. Yeah, absolutely. I think Kaiser even sent me a something of a video of that. I seem to have lost it now, though.
And I do want to point out, I received a Discord message, I believe, from SifeDK, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, it was SifeDK, where he was talking about, he kept saying geocentric. So I have always seen geocentric as the globe Earth model, but where the sun goes around the Earth and the planets. And yeah, so, but there's also the idea that the universe and everything is centered around the flat Earth. So there, I didn't hold him to his representation of the flat Earth as being geocentric, because he was talking about flat Earth. He may have made the mistake of calling it geocentric or made the wrong assumption, but I assumed he was talking flat Earth the whole time he was saying geocentric.
Yeah, I mean, we assume they mean that. It's just, it shows how wrong they get everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this is the footage Kaiser Cube was talking about, 1973. Yeah, no way they could have faked that back then. Look at that shit.
Are you kidding me? I see the wires. I see the wires, Kaiser Cube. You ain't fucking fooling me. Look at that shit. Now he has to... Watch, hold on. Go rewind it. I want to show you something. I want to show you how fake this shit is, right? I'm gonna do a live debunk right here. If you watch, go back when he first does his little twist. He'll always twist one way and then twist the other way to untangle himself. Watch. Here he goes. Watch. Tangling up to the left.
No, you're
Tangling up to the right.
He's still going the same way.
I called it. Fuck, he is. He's still tangling himself up more. Hold on. He'll go to the right in a second. Hold on. Go to the right, dude. Go to the right.
Yeah, he looks so tangled up.
He's tangled up. That's why they did a jump cut. That he was like, it's joking me. You see how he landed straight up? That's the pull of gravity right there. Debunked.
No way you could fake that shit. Absolutely no way. Nerd Angle for $4.99 says Hubble is old as fuck. It's amazing it's still working. Put some respect on that name. Yeah, Hubble did a good job. It went way past its operational lifetime. For Shanty for $2
hey,
says.
Did you?
Sorry, go on.
Did you catch the other day when I was like, when I said, hey, fight, how do you spell angle? Or how do you spell angel? It's because in the last live chat, you called him Nerd Angel. And then you just kept going. And I was like, hey, fight, how do you spell angel again? I don't think anybody caught it. Y'all were just like, yeah, shut up, skeptic.
Yeah, what you don't know is in the background, I actually Googled how to spell angle. For Shanty for $2 says, bring on DKG Costume to disprove the CGI claim. He was busy polishing his Emmy. Carrie Oliver is now a fighter. Welcome. You can use the amazing emoji of Nathan Thompson in jail. Anthony Purcell for $5 says we have 5 retroreflectors on the moon. They're used for lunar laser ranging experiments. I cannot understand this level of idiotic hubris. Welcome to the world of stupid. Monkey Cat Pat Pat for $2 says if NASA was faking it, the footage would be 4K. Well, the thing is, if Kubrick was going to fake the moon landings, he was such a perfectionist, he would have demanded to do it on location. Old joke. Always worth it. Anthony Purcell for $10 Australian says, there's nothing more annoying than an ignoramus saying, think about it. I have thought about it, you cretin. I've been thinking about the shape of the Earth 8 hours a day for the past 30 years. Bella Charge for $2 New Zealand says, the Russians did, it's called a pencil. Yeah, I don't know how true that old story is, team, about the Americans spending millions of dollars trying to develop a pen that worked in zero gravity, and then the Russians just pulled out a pencil. Is that true?
Fight. Yeah, I was totally being facetious with that story.
I know, but I'm just wondering if that story's true. I was
like, dude, don't tell me. I don't know, but I think that it's a testament to common sense if they did. Because it would make a lot of common sense to use a pencil in space, except for, I don't know, that, you know what, that's actually, I think that they wouldn't use a pencil in space because you have lead shavings that would come off.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm gonna have
or
to
not lead, but you know what I'm saying. Like the pencil lead shavings would come off and become particulates in the air, and that could be dangerous to equipment.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into whether that story's true or not, because it's interesting. Bella Charge for, no, I've just read that one. Kaiser Q for $2 says, FTFE forgot memory foam mattresses. Yeah, NASA did invent them, but honestly I don't like memory foam mattresses. They're better left in space. Fashanti for $2 says, asking what the military budget is. No, he just kept glossing over that, didn't he? Andrew Roman for $5 says, will you accept the globe model when we start the industrialization of space and recreation use such as space tours and vacations beyond the norm? I don't see how flat earthers can keep denying it when that shit goes down, honestly. They will, because, you know, confirmation bias and stuff. Crafty Keela for €5 says, the Catholic Church is exempt from showing their accounts, so that is a massive lie. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across to him, that NASA and the Catholic Church are nothing alike.
You know, he always specified Catholic when he talked about the church. I wonder if he is like a fundamentalist Christian that it opposes the Catholic teachings, because they do exist, and that's one of the reasons I guess I threw that out when he said something about like, oh, we just make up reasons, or we just looking to make up the reasons for this and that, and I was like, no, we've done that. That's why we invented God, you know,
exactly.
To explain the inexplicable. Well, as soon as science explains it, it's no need to even use God as an excuse at that point. So really, if there's anything, it's science that's killing God, and it's killing them one discovery at a time.
It's not hard.
But I bet he's a fundamentalist Christian.
He sounded like it. I think so. Sarah for $5 says Kenyatta, the denialist, denying that he denied. I know they always do it. William Foley for $5
now,
says.
Hey, I will say this.
Yeah.
I will say this, Fight. If he's a young Earth creationist, then there is a possibility he's been believing this since '86. Because there is young Earth creationism that has been taught that teaches a flat and stationary, motionless Earth, and they refer to it as geocentrism.
Yeah, there's a good chance you're right. Someone said to put on the JM memes. I'm just trying to find them. There you go.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that. I want to give him credit if he's telling the truth about, that he is a true flat earther, that he's been doing this since '86. I don't want to take that away from him. I would prefer to give him the credit if he's being honest.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking right now to try to find, consistencies in his story, and there are some, to be honest with you.
William Foley for $5 says, argues against the space program while using technology created by it. Argues cost that is 1/100th of what the US just spent in to fight the pandemic. Yep, it's just stupid. Tommy Gronville for 20 Nokias says, before we go into denying anything, Kenyatta 2020. Yeah, he denied everything. Crafty Keeler for €2, basic trigonometry. Somewhere Reg just came. Timothy Foster for $2 says, yeah, basic trigonometry. Reg just came again. Kango 24 for $5 New Zealand says, I worked in VFX for 25 years.
It was the second coming.
Yeah. I worked in VFX for 25 years. Good luck doing an hour-long no-cuts effect shot. Crafty Keeler for €2 says, FTFE, check the aim on Discord. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that, Crafty. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, How much wood would a woodchuck chuck over the ice wall if woodchuck would? All of it. Anthony Purcell for $10 Australian says, based on energy received from the sun, Earth's mean surface temperature should be minus 18 degrees Celsius, 255 Kelvin. Right. The temperature we experience depends critically on the properties of the atmosphere. Absolutely, 100%. Dim Sum Nim Sum for
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dim Sum Nim Sum for $5 Canadian says, there was a satellite that used to send video of Earth. It isn't operational now, but I can't remember the name. I think you mean EchoStar 11, which is a good one. Yeah. Rangerman 9404 for $5 says... One. Yeah, Discover One, that's another one, yeah. Rangerman 9404 for $5 says, I'm one face palm away from my face looking like Red's face. No, you can never look like Red's face. The Gigs Boson became a new member. Welcome to Scrappers. Thank you very much. Gigs Boson, you are member 99. If I get one more member, then I can hit 100 members. See if I can do it in this stream, guys. One more member and I'm at 100. Woo-hoo! Anthony Purcell for $2 Australian says, NASA do a lot to make aircraft operations safer. Absolutely. Dam Jam Fiznik for $2 says, in video you can see stars before focus on Earth. It's all to do with like, focus and the amount of light that's coming in and everything. Jason Bolton for $2 Australian. This guy is good at one thing, goalpost shifting. Yeah, you could hear them moving. Kaiser Cube for another $10, thank you, says, Kenyatta, you're a fool. NASA is working at the will of the American people. We want to explore space. We want more space. Space Force. We want to go to Mars. You do not represent us. Anthony Purcell for $5 Australian says, so you want stuff privatized because government is bad, because private companies have too much influence on government. Oh, and I've just seen 3 members come in. You guys fucking rock. William Foley, Kaiser Cube, and X-Jezekai. Thank you guys. You've just smashed me over to 102 members. Amazing. I actually can't fucking believe that. It blows my mind. I love you guys so much.
It blows my mind how you do math so fast.
How I do math? Oh, right, yeah. Add 3.
99.
Point and laugh.
God, you are so lacking when it comes to wit. I'm so sorry. Like, guys, I'm going to tone down my joke so Fight laughs on when he's supposed to. So I don't feel so awkward.
Maybe you're just not funny.
That too was a joke, Fight. You can laugh now. Laugh!
Remember, we're on a little delay, so sometimes my laughing is delayed.
Yeah, I know, and I'm sure that my response to you responding to this was a little delayed as well. So I'll give you 4 seconds to laugh on command. If you don't laugh, I'm do that till you do.
Point and Laugh for $2.99 Australian says, time to start laughing and calling him a fucking idiot. It didn't get there, unfortunately.
Ding!
Crafty Kilo for €2 says, litmus test with the triangle, not square, lol. I'll do the litmus test next time. Crafty Kilo for €5 says, wishing Colin all the best with the expected birth of his new baby. Much love and support of both of you. You will be naming that child Craig, I assume. I mean, it only makes sense, right? Whether it's a boy or a girl, your baby will be named Craig, right, Colin? Makes, I mean, it better be. Anthony Purcell for $5 Australian says, a more simple explanation than science being correct is a decades-long conspiracy with hundreds of thousands of participants. In Opposite World, yes. And War Coderid for $5 says, he's right. Assumptions are arrogant. Assuming that since he doesn't know something no one else does is extremely arrogant. Anthony Purcell for $10 Australian says, Kay, you need to accept that your mind-numbing ignorance of physics makes your pathetic efforts at syllogism utterly invalid. You lack the information to construct a valid axiomatic set. Absolutely. Better said than I ever could. Kit for $5 has a thumbs up, good job sticker, thank you. Jackalope Herdmaster for $5 says, how much chemicals need to be injected into the atmosphere for it to actually impact a significant percentage? A lot. Lucian Andreas.
Yeah, keep in mind aerosols expand outwards in all directions, so spraying them over a small, like the size of an airplane as it flies over an area of land and sprays that out, that's not going to fall just on the area right below the plane. It's going to spread out over a massive, massive area before it actually hits the ground, and that would be ineffective and inefficient. So,
Lucian Andreas for 10 Rons says, World War II is a CGI hoax hologram. I know, I've seen it. Absolutely, but that's top secret, so shush. Crafty Kilo for €2 says, vote 1 for litmus test now. Next time, I promise. Anthony Purcell for $2 Australian says, going to guess he's a climate denier too. Probably. Kick-Ass Dave for £5 says, I'm out. It's one thing to believe conspiracies, but the intellectual dishonesty to keep believing the same nonsense is just ridiculous. Yeah, they all are very intellectually dishonest. Silix666 for £2 says, what is the flat earth religion hiding? War Coderid for $2 says, censorship equals flat earth evidence. It's about right, yeah. NA for $6.66. Science is Satan's work. Hail Satan. Vishanti for $2 says, disappointed his feet weren't held to the fire. Don't worry, we're going to get him back. I was just testing him out.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something about him. He was a master of getting painted into a corner and jumping to a different fucking boat.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something that, like, I was trying to be as passive as possible and as polite as possible because I didn't want to scare him away. He seemed like a pretty good dude. But definitely next time, I'm even going to tell him before the debate starts that before we move on from topic to topic, I'm going to insist that he addresses the science that's brought up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he just didn't address it. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was more of a casual conversation. But he did, as soon as we put him in a corner, he would jump to another topic. We'd get him in a corner, and that one he'd jump to another topic.
This was arranged at short notice and wasn't really a debate, more of a conversation.
Yeah.
The next time will be more organised, and we will have a proper debate structure to stick to and stuff. So. Rennie Baby for $5 says, best way to describe radiative cooling is with sunburn and trapping heat in with a shirt, since they don't understand the basic tree reference. They don't understand anything, Rennie Baby, though. Kaiser Cube for $5 says, FTFE, this isn't the first time I've heard a dumb flurf newbie in shock from actual data being torrented into them. He's new flurfer fish, naive city. Yeah, it's strange. He says since 86, but he did seem very fresh. Sphere itself for $5 says, it's so much easier to believe than to think. It's astounding how much more believing is done than thinking. James Kemper. Yeah, you're right. The Womble Biter for £2 says, please do David Icke. Good show too. Thank you very much. Yeah, David Icke's on the list, definitely. NA for $6.66. Fight the tight shirt. You rock that shit. Love you, NA. Thank you. Rangerman9404 for $2 says, Cupid stunt. I'm so stealing that spoonerism. Me too. Crafty Keela for €2, 600 watching. Get liking or be considered a flirf. Yeah, let's get 20 more likes in there. Get up to 300 before we shut, guys. Raven Zero for $2 says, always enjoy your stuff, team and FTFE. Keep it up. We will, because we fucking love doing it. It's so much fun. Glass Monster for $2 Canadian says, send me a free FTFE shirt. Send me your email and I'll see what I can do. Jessica G for $2 says, Jessica G for $2 says.
That's funny.
Plot Hole for $2 says, FTFE highlight video going live on Wednesday. Yeah, guys, subscribe to the Plot Hole. Plot Hole, if you're still there, spam your link. Christopher Shapley, DMV CVA for $10 says, truly enjoy yours and team's content. Thank you so much. Thank you. We love doing it, don't we, team? It's so much fun.
Yeah, I do, man. I really, really enjoy what I do.
Yeah. And it's rare to have a job you love.
I think I'm blessed, man. I think. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I really like it. I just feel like my stars have aligned. We were talking about this over the weekend with my mom at Mother's Day, and my mom and my stepdad were like, you've always been an entertainer. You've always strived to be an entertainer, and it's just what you found that you like to do. And I was like, I do. I love it. I love doing it. I don't mind laughing at myself, and I think that's one of the funniest things about me, you, Sean, Reg, Jared, AT2. I think all of us, I think we're just so good because we laugh at each other and we laugh with each other, and they love it, man. Those people out there love it.
Yeah, I think saying that we're blessed is kind of it's a good sentiment because not many people get to do a job they love like this, and I don't want to do anything else. I want to just entertain you guys because I fucking love it. And
I'm committed to it.
Yeah,
I'm committed to entertainment for the rest of my life. So I'll be doing this on the internet I'm not here for a month or 2 months or 3 months.
No, this is forever.
I'm going to be here for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be here for decades.
John Rapp for $2 Australian. Everyone say hi to John Rapp in the correct way. Super chats improve your sex drive. Prove me wrong. I'll go and wake the wife up afterwards and say I got a bunch of super chats and see what she says. I will have a black eye. Willie Merck for $4.99 says,
I guarantee you she's gonna go, oh, okay, and turn right back over, go back to sleep.
Yeah, that's not
or if all the money turns her on, she's gonna say, oh, that's so great. Could you leave for like 10 minutes and come back?
Wait, that always happens. Oh.
First world problems.
Willie Merck for $4.99 says, hey FTFE, can you get Roger Hendy onto debate? He's a smart Aussie when it comes to aircraft conspiracies. It would be cool to see you moderate. Email me, Willie Merck, with the details. I'll see what I can do. William Furley for $5 says, Fisher Space Pen developed independently of NASA. NASA then purchased it, and the Soviet space program also used them. Thank you, William. Kaiser Cube for $2 says, Kenyatta is Christian fighting apostasy. Yeah. And then we had a bunch of new members. William Foley, Kaiser Cube, X Jezekai, John Rapp, Graham Pearce, Rampant, all of you. I love you all. We've got Gary Heffman for $2 says, love you all for love all you do for the world and reality. Well, we love it absolutely as well. Crafty Keeler for €2 says, been hyping people up about the debunkies. Yeah, they're going to be awesome, aren't they, team?
Oh yeah, and hey, we got to talk about a little bit of bad news, okay?
Yeah.
The chat was so fucking good the other day in our debunky stream, and there were so many great ideas, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to go back and reading these ideas that I wasn't able to have written down, And then we got hit with those 2 copyright claims. The BBC copyright claimed that video and then blocked it worldwide.
Really?
Yeah. That video, oh yeah. They copyright claimed it and blocked it. And then some other jackass copyright claimed the sulfur hexafluoride portion of the video. So I trimmed out both portions of the video. The only problem is when you edit that, it saves it as a new video, and you don't have a live chat for that video. So there's no live chat. The live chat's gone from that video. Forever gone. So yeah, we're fucked. We're going to have another debunkies stream real soon and go over some of the things that we talked about.
When you showed the laser, when you showed the laser experiment, I got a notification about copyrighted stuff from the BBC. So I think the same might happen to this one.
Hey, Stephen Cook, I think that's his name in the chat. I was trying to remember what his name was. In the chat. But anyway, we were talking about you because I think you were talking about 3D printing, and we're going to have a small trophy that we're going to 3D print and send it out to people. And I talked to Sir Sick today. Just from while he was live streaming, I was in his chat, chatting with him, and I asked him if he'd be interested in participating in the debunkies, and he said yes. Awesome. So that's going to be a presenter. I'm going to try to get as many of the fan favorites as presenters as we can for the awards. So he'll be presenting an award, and yeah, it's going to be fun, man. This is going to turn out to be fucking awesome. I'll talk to Simon, Dan, Conspiracy Cats. Yeah. I'm sure I'll have a part for you somewhere, Craig. Like I said, you'll be up for nomination for Best Supporting Debunker for me. You know, it's going to be like...
Whatever, Robin.
FTFE in Team Skeptics videos. Best Supporting Debunker.
Look, we all know you're the Speedy to my Arrow.
Whatever, dude.
And we got another new member, Jet Guitars. Thank you very much. Irish Demon for $2.99 says, would love a shout out for my channel debunking Flat Earth. Guys, please check out Irish Demon. He's actually really funny, and anyone debunking Flat Earth is always good. Crafty Keela for €2 says, we're in it for the long haul with you both. And then T-Rock66, the last one, $4.99. Excited to watch this back. FTFE and Team Skeptic, you better not be lying and stay crushing these idiots for decades. Ding. We fucking will. Because they are fucking idiots.
No, I will be. I will be an entertainer moving forward. I've already committed to it. The program that we got with this vMix, it's a professional program. It puts us in a position to actually make productions like you're seeing tonight. I think it's well worth our time. I think we have the personality and the wit with each other, and you're totally okay with being, you know, the spandex to my Spider-Man, all up on my nutsack. You know, that's.
I've had fun tonight.
We work well together, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we always work well together. Even with the delay, we managed to make it work. And
right.
I love doing this, guys. Absolutely love doing it. Because look at you, there's still. I've been waffling on Superchats for about 40 minutes, and there's still 500 of you there watching. I've managed to get over 300 likes. I've got about 15 new members in this stream. You guys are amazing. I love you all. Thank you so much for spending your Monday evenings with me as I tackle stupidity in the world. One more super chat. Crafty Keela for €2. vMix is as reliable as Craig's internet. Lol. It's only unreliable on my computer.
Fuck that. vMix is way more reliable than Craig's internet. Craig's internet doesn't need to be fed vMix does not need to be fed hamster food to continue to work. Craig's internet, on the other hand, you have to feed it hamster food or it will not work.
The main kind of base for internet in Scotland is just one angry Scottish guy eating haggis. And he's just like got a crank. That's it. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for hanging out tonight. It's been an absolute blast. Kenyatta will be back, mainly because he's got such a fucking cool name, Kenyatta Slade. And there will be more holding feet to the fire next time he comes back. Team, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, I put out a video today. The video today was from my appearance, one of my appearances on the plot hole where I debated a flat earther. He said some pretty stupid things. I clipped the first, fourth or fifth of the, or, you know, third or fourth of the video, and I put it up to help promote the plot hole. As well as there's a channel update at the beginning explaining the direction moving forward. I really, I want to address people like David Icke a lot more. I want to address the lady I'm addressing in my next video. She's a professional virologist who is saying that COVID-19 is fake. She is absolutely insane, and she's a professional. So people are believing her because she's a professional virologist. Now, nobody denies that there's fringe scientists who do have PhDs and whatnot and have made significant discoveries in their past. But the moment they start saying that something real is not real, that, you know, it discredits them at least on that statement. And I feel like it's my job to begin addressing more serious topics than just Flat Earth.
Yeah.
Flat Earth was fun, but me and you, like, we are at the point that we are in attacking it as if it's a vampire or as if it's possibly a vampire, and we're just going to continue to stab it in the heart with a wooden stake, just in case. And we're laughing while we do it. I mean, it's fun. Hey, you know, everybody loves that shit. But I do want to start addressing other topics. So most of my videos moving forward will be more researched, well-researched, and addressing more serious topics.
Well, saying that, I will obviously cover more stupid than just the Flat Earth, but I fucking do love doing Flat Earth, and I've actually got in production 3 episodes of Flirts Are Idiots that I'm going to release over, like, I'm going to release one, then have a day off, release one, have a day off. So next week, there's going to be 3 episodes of Flirts Are Idiots out in relatively quick succession. And they're going to be really, really fucking good ones, guys, because the amount of stupid coming out of Flat Earth at the moment is incredible.
Yeah, I still intend on addressing Flat Earth. I mean, I'll never... That's the thing that I've built my channel off of. That's going to be my base. Yeah. So every time a significant Flat Earth video comes out that needs to be addressed, I'll address it. And then, you know what? There'll be times when I find little short videos that I'll probably just throw it together real quick, call them an idiot a bunch of times, count it up. But my more well-researched videos, like the Corona video that I'm getting ready to work on, I'm not going to put the idiot meter in there. I really want that to be something that people can learn from, a counter to what this woman is saying that's so obviously incorrect. Yeah. One of the things she says, and get this, guys, okay? She says that the re-expression of coronaviruses from wearing a mask, of your own coronaviruses, because you're wearing a mask, the re-expression of those viruses back into your body is what is causing COVID-19. Not realizing that in order for you to become infected with a virus that you are infecting yourself with, you at first have to be infected. She also makes a comment of, you cannot die with an infection, you die from an infection. Yeah. Yep. She's dumb.
Yep, that's some amazing stupid. But that's been fun tonight.
But she's a doctor, and she's a virologist, a PhD. Yeah. So
just a few more super chats have come in. End Flat Earth for $2 says, we wouldn't be here if you guys sucked. Team sucks, that's why we're such good friends.
Thank you.
JL Warren for $1.99 says, Milkovitz, I have a ton of articles for you, team. Nice.
That's the one right there. Who said that?
JL Warren.
Who? JL Warren? Okay.
Yeah.
JL, me, you, and I believe I'm going to have you. That's the one I was talking about involving you with Fight, because she makes the ultimate claim of autism and viral medicines. So I figured I'd let you handle that part, at least like a 4 or 5 minute segment of it. But it's very technical, so you'll have to know your shit. Do some research. Do your own research.
Glass Monster for $2 says, email has been sent, black XL FTFE fist logo. I'll see what I can do, man. You've supported me a lot, and I appreciate that. But guys, thank you very much. Blows my mind the support I get. I love every single one of you. Make sure that you smash the like button on your way out, and you share this on Facebook, especially in Nathan Thompson's Globe Earth debate page on Facebook. Many shares there as possible will be definitely appreciated. We will see you. We got some on Wednesday on your channel, team, right? With Victor.
I don't know if he's coming in on Wednesday or next Saturday, but we also had Why You're an Idiot that we tried to schedule for next Saturday with Sean. So we have 2 people that I may just, I don't know, I might try to bring one of them on Wednesday night and one of them on Saturday if they'll come on. But tomorrow night, me and Fupa, I will be live streaming tomorrow, probably just a random hangout, just chatting with the audience. I I'm going to be doing a gaming live stream on Tuesday with Fupa. The return of Fupa. Hashtag fuck Fupa.
What time?
Everybody
'Cause
in the
I can
chat
join
who
in
knows
on
what
that.
that's all about. I was going to ask you if you would like to join in and be the third or fourth person, or if we already have 4 people,
Yeah.
you can actually cheerlead from Discord.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Sounds fun. Make sure you
All
guys
right, bro.
subscribe to Team Skeptic as well, and we will see you all soon. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat.